Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, the Paranormal Portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hello, all my gatekeepers out there. Well, I'll tell you what, we got a surprise. I got eyes on. I got eyes on the man, so to bring him in, we got a little something extra here. Hold on 1 minute. Let's do it this way. Hang on 1 second. I don't know why that's not going to play, but I'll work on that. We'll see if we can get it back. Hi, everybody. Welcome into Mud Name Madness. So, they're not going to let me do a video intro, I've got a video intro for you right here. Freshly snatched from the dark and devious clutches of mysterious monsters, determined to keep him silent. Risen from the dark and dangerous Shanghai tunnels of Portland, Oregon. Back from the indiscriminately dead, Mr. Zombie Steve Stockton, everybody. Come on up here.
Hey. Wow, an introduction like that, I wish I had a better show for you.
And that's it. Good night, everybody. Say good night, Gracie. How much fun. I don't know why that won't play, but Steve and I have got a ghost story for our guest, too. When he comes in here, we'll wet his palate with a little something that's been going on this week. But how are you doing? You look alive and well.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Sinus issues, and I had bronchitis and couldn't talk for a couple of days, but
well, there he is, folks.
Didn't have the C thing that's going around or any of that.
None of that madness.
I don't get colds or flu, but I have really bad sinus infections sometimes, and this year was no exception.
We're glad that you are not a member of the indiscriminately dead. We've snatched you from the Shanghai tunnels and wherever else they were holding you in the darkness there. We're glad we brought you to the light, and we're glad you're here tonight. We missed you. It feels like a month, Steve.
Yeah, I was just off for a week, but It was good. I got caught up on a lot of stuff I needed to
Yeah.
do, some administrative stuff and some
Well, there it
writing and
is.
things. So back on the microphone now. I got a new setup here. I don't know if you can see this back there
Yeah.
under my
Yeah.
little
They're looking
sign there. It's
snazzy.
mic
Yep.
preamp and vocal processor there.
Yeah.
So
What does
hopefully
that
this
say?
sounds okay.
Does that say "Make Coke Great Again"? Is that what that says? Is that what that says?
I usually have it say where it says on air or whatever. I have 13 past
I
midnight.
think you
up
said
there.
the secret messages, folks. I keep an eye on that sign if I were you.
It lost its Wi-Fi, and when it did that, it just started playing stuff randomly. So instead of hooking it back to Wi-Fi, I'm just letting it play because it does some really crazy and weird things back there.
Wow.
Stuff that's just in memory out. And the thing there's got donuts,
Yep.
Las Vegas,
The secret
Coca-Cola,
messages.
McDonald's,
All kind of
restaurant
madness.
signs,
Yep.
bars open, have a beer.
A little Atari, maybe. Yeah, bars up when that thing comes on. I expect a cold one. Well, I'll tell you what. Do you want to introduce our guest tonight? I mean, let's start the madness. Last time we promised him an hour and a half. We did 2 hours. I asked him tonight if he was okay with 2 hours. He said, "Well, last time we almost did 3." So I don't know what's going on.
And we took 2, so that's 4 hours, right?
I don't know. Either way, we let him up for air. What do you think, Steve? Everybody, welcome our wonderful friend for part 2 of Tennessee Hauntings. Just another nice Southern gentleman right here, Mr. Eric Freeman Sims. Come on in here, honey.
Eric, get on in here.
There he is.
Hey, everybody.
So much fun. My goodness, I don't know why that video wouldn't play. Eric, we have a ghost story. You think you'd like to just jump right in? Do you want to wet your toes, or you dive in the deep end kind of guy?
Y'all go ahead. I want to hear it.
All right, here we go. So, as everybody knows, we were neck deep in Nazis last night. Okay? I mean, there's no other way to put it. Donnie and I, we do this little thing, Sis Joe, and we'll take a subject, something broad, and he'll go down his rabbit holes, I'll dig and go down mine, and then we kind of meet in the middle, kind of like a Dead Files thing. He's Amy Allen, I want to be Steve. Because I didn't check that with him, but Donnie's that okay? So anyway, he'll go off, and we don't meet in the middle till we meet to do the show, and he brings his info, I bring mine, and we're both surprised, so it's nice. So anyway, we did Nazis, and we did Limburg, and we tried to do the lighter, the Operation Paperclip.
Gentler Nazis.
Yeah, the kinder, gentler Nazis.
Nazi
God help
light.
us all. Yeah, but we were, tiptoeing all around. We didn't want to get in the deep and dark. Everybody knows the deep and dark. We wanted to get down in the secrets and scoundrelness of the whole thing and the behind the shadows nonsense and things. So anyway, during this time, I'm sitting there. Now, this is it's a multi-level ghost story. And it's amazing how these things happen. But now you're part of the family, so these things can be happening to you too.
Right.
So hang in there. So I'm looking for research. Fast track of the story is I'm doing Limburg and digging on it because I always thought that he did it. I never thought Bruno did it. Anyway, I'm digging. And while I'm digging and making my videos and grabbing screenshots and finding pictures and you're building your video, I'm listening to a YouTube, and it's the Celebrity Ghost Stories. Comes on as Tracy Nelson. And I'm listening to her talking. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, the Earl Flynn house. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yep, Ricky Nelson, they lived there, and she had some problems. And there was all kinds of things going on at the house, and parties, and, open the door, and there's nobody there. The clinking of glasses, the murmurings, the broken glass, thrown furniture. Surely to God, it's a mess. Open the door, nothing. Nightmares, multiple nightmares. This son of a bitch, scoundrel, supposedly had two-way mirrors all through the house, and one was over this bedroom where a lot of things went on. You can imagine the energy, right? And just all kinds of things. So she's sitting there talking about it. She goes, well, it's Earl Flynn's house, and supposedly he was a sadist and a Nazi. And my ears perk up. I'm like, excuse me, what? So I start digging on that, and I think, okay, well, that's a nice leeway. We'll add it to the show. I'm texting with Steve a little bit in here and there because I got Valentine's. He's got God knows what kind of three-pronged flu you had. I got Valentine's. We're barely communicating back and forth. And then he mentions that he's having a nightmare or a dream, which he has prophetic dreams, do you not, Steve?
Yeah. This one was unusual because I had
Weird.
it that morning. I hadn't talked to you, didn't have any idea what you were talking about on the show that night.
Nothing.
And I was listening in the dream. I was listening to a radio, and it was weird because I could see the people in my mind that were talking on the radio, but I didn't recognize. When I heard this one voice, he sounded like an actor, had that thespian thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was Orson Welles. And they asked him, well, who do you like to listen to? And he said, oh, I love Cisco Murdoch. And it was so clear the way he said your name. And he had that kind of British accent. Orson Welles, even though he wasn't British, he spoke like that, like Vincent Price and some of those guys from back in the day. They would learn that as part of their acting trade.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you mentioned that you were working on Errol Flynn, I'm like, that's it. Because the guy, he had a tuxedo and the cigarette and everything. Orson Welles was a big old guy. This guy was dashing and handsome. I could just kind of see him in profile.
In his heyday.
But by God, it was Errol Flynn.
In all his
And
ascot
he
glory.
likes to listen to you.
Weird. So now listen, I'm getting this again. I'm getting this in text. You know, text because we add emotion. It's, that's why they made emojis, because you have to put the emotion back in. It makes sense. So I'm like, and I'm going out the door, going to work, and I'm like, did he just say he saw a ghost come in a tuxedo and say my name in a dream? There's no way to look at that, Eric, without it being creepy. No way whatsoever. Okay? So he doesn't know what's going on. Now, the big part of the Tracy Nelson ghost story is this. This house seems to be very much like Shining-esque. The whole breakdown of the character of the person who had a lot of cracks in his windshield. He was an alcoholic, pushed on all his buttons. The house and him, they fed off of each other energy-wise. The build-up, the crackdown, and the explosion, correct? Very similar. She has a dream, multiple dreams, because she's sleeping in this bedroom where he used to keep his mistress, who was she was a child, 14, 15 years old. The energy in this room must be intense, and she's having nightmares here. So the major dream that really frightens her, she comes down the stairs. Around the corner comes Errol Flynn with a martini, dressed in full tux, and says Happy New Year to her. So this shakes her, rattles her. So many other things happen in the house. She gets busy. Her brothers, the twins, the blonde Gunther and Pothos, whatever his name is. Anyway, they're busy. Dad's there alone, breaking down, coming rock star pop, end of career slowdown, if you know what I mean. There's drugs, there's parties, wrong people, more energy, boom, boom, boom. She's leaving, coming back. He's more degraded each time. He's got this obsession with airplanes now, and he hates airplanes, and she can't snap him out of it, but she's busy. He's fine. She leaves. He goes on a plane. Plane burst into flames, then crashed, killed him, his girlfriend, 5 members of the band. Very short time after, her words, not mine, she says, house burns into flames for mysterious reasons, burns to the ground. She said that she felt there was a parallel between the two, the house and her dad, that they destroyed, decomposed together and then disintegrated. Wow. Which also gave her more thought about Errol Flynn, and was he a sadist? Was he a Satanist? Was he into black magic? What was going on? So Steve tells me this, and I think, okay, he's coming into his dream. Natural conclusion if you're in this. He's coming into his dreams. You better warn her, don't put this stuff out. At the time it happened, that's where my mind went, true or not. And I'm thinking, no, I was just going to leave it. Now I'm going to dig. Red hair, Jersey girl. And I find out it wasn't just hearsay or that he was with guilt by association. He didn't accidentally trip over a Nazi, okay? He was actually a willing sympathizer, went and did things as a correspondent. And then it escalated in his films. He actually requested films to be filmed in certain places so he could send the film to help with the enemy, and actually got people killed. This is how deep it was. Wow. So I'm thinking this whole time. Now, the only video I loaded last night that wouldn't work was his. I had to load it to YouTube 8 times, redo it 4 times, and had to load it to StreamYard 5 minutes before the show. It wouldn't play. And I go in there and I said, look, I'm in the bathroom talking to this. Truth's going to come out. You still have your legacy of your films and everything else, but aren't you tired of hiding who you are? If you're who you are, be proud of it and put it out there. I'm going to go out there and tell the truth. Come out here, video played.
Wow.
End of story, as far as I know. Is that not amazing?
I think we haven't heard the last from Errol yet. I think he'll pop up somewhere along the way.
It's so multi-level, and again, it's stretching. Did what Steve's dreams usually come true? They usually have some meat to them.
I mean, that
was a good thing in the dream, though. He liked you. He liked to listen to you. So,
I mean, with so many coincidences, it's got to be some sort of synchronicity at some point in time. Like, you just have to take that conclusion of, okay, well, I can't prove this, but there's too much going on with Errol Flynn there, and you having issues with the video, and
weird.
So kind of weird.
So weird.
For some reason, my lights behind me are blinking. I don't know if y'all see that.
Bowden calls me out of nowhere. Now, Bowden has abilities that he doesn't brag about. He's a prolific remote viewer of things like this. Like Steve is. He's very humble about his prolific dreams because he doesn't quite know what to do with it. A lot of us have gifts that we don't quite know how to use like a tool. It does something good. I'm going to keep it in the bag in case I need it one day because I figured it's kind of like that. But, it's so strange. It's like too many coincidences and everything else. But the video played, we got the word out, and I really felt kind of a little something different when I said, look, aren't you tired of, I hate that when people can't just be who they are and they've got to hide it. I mean, I have my heart, really felt for, I've got friends who, everything, they're on a diet, and, under the beds is a bunch of Hostess Twinkies and stuff. Don't be that way, crying in the dark eating, Oreos.
Yeah.
Eat the friggin' Oreo. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's how if I did appeal to him, then I think that was it. And out of nowhere, about an hour after the show, Bowden calls me. He's got information. Didn't see the show in Florida, has no idea, more stuff. So It's just so weird.
Yeah. And at what point do that many coincidences stop being coincidences is my question. Because as we see a lot in the paranormal, it's all connected somehow. Like, a lot of it is just connected. And the more you do it, the more you dive into it, the more you figure that out.
So true. And it's so funny. Isn't it true, Steve, the way we analyze things, too? It's like we don't think like... I think we're way past normal. We're half past normal, aren't we? Quarter to dark.
Whichever it is, yeah.
Half past normal and quarter to dark. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you died in 50... Right away, I do this. All right, you died in 59. This is how you went out. It wasn't such a great, he fizzled. It's like it's better to burn out than to rust, I'm thinking, all right, you can't be happy with that. If he did do the stuff in the house, he certainly wasn't an ascended being. He didn't cross over and come back and visit to torment. You wouldn't be doing that.
He was proud of his bad boy image. He was such a hedonist. Yeah. And I think that's just the fact that you're talking about him, that you're bringing attention. Somebody that's basically forgotten at this point, even if it is to talk about the bad things that he did, he still loves the attention. I think so. Yeah. And I didn't tell you this part after all that happened.
Oh God! Wait! Let me get the sage. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
One of those weird little things. But I was watching something else on YouTube, and something came up in my recommendeds. I don't remember what it was about, but I clicked on it. I was watching it, listening to it, some kind of ghost story or something. And the name of the person's channel was Cisco 26. So the 26 does that mean anything to you? And it was the guy in the avatar, so I don't know.
Okay, it said Cisco 26.
26. That was the name of the channel.
Oh God!
And it just popped up in my recommended. It wasn't anything I searched.
Jackie, what's that in Gematria? I know who to ask.
Well, it's not like Cisco is a prevalent name that you see, especially on like YouTube and stuff.
Well, too, many a time I've had that pop up, Eric. I mean, in some of my most profound times, I remember standing on the corner, just left my son in ICU. I had to go down and smoke a cigarette, and that's when I'd make my phone calls. Everybody did like a round robin. One time I'd call this person, check in, and they'd call. So I'm sitting there, and I said, I got to make some decisions now. I feel like I need to go in this direction and fight this battle because there's so many wildfires coming at us at the same time in decision making. And I said, can you send me a sign and let me know if this is the right way to go? Because I'm at a crossroads here. Just when I said it, I mean, when the word "here" came out of my mouth, around the corner, big old truck. And it goes right in front of my face, and it keeps on going. And it's a big old Cisco truck, and it says, "Good things come from Cisco." And I went, "Thank you very much." And I kept on, and it turned out to be the right trail. But we do get those things. We get signs. I think the more you're open to it, the more you see it. Don't you guys think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And here's the interesting thing. I went back and looked at that channel. He's in Germany. Most of his videos are in German. And the one that had popped up in my feed was something about some kind of gothic music festival or something. But
he's in Germany.
But it ties in. I'm going to put the link in here.
See, this is what happens, Eric. It's with Steve and I. You've heard of all the people we killed. We took out Meatloaf a couple weeks ago. I adore Meatloaf. We've got to learn how to hone this, Yoko Ono. We have to learn how to hone this energy and learn to direct it better, Steve. But see, this isn't the first time that male ghosts, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but earthbound. They've all been earthbound male spirits have gotten in your dreams to get to me to do something. Maybe he wants to be crossed.
Maybe so.
I mean, we often think of these things wrong. We have to back up and look at them in another way. I mean, what do you guys think? Everybody's yelling Yoko Ono and Edna. I didn't put mine in print. You're spelling. You're putting yours in writing. What do you guys think about this whole Earl Flynn thing? Too many coincidences, or are you leaning more towards something's up? I mean, it's not that far-fetched. Tell me what you think in the chat, and we'll go on, because we've got Eric here to tell great ghost stories.
I think the chat is thinking the same thing I am, because they were part of the whole Titanic thing that we all went through and all the other things that they've seen y'all go through. So I think once you hit too many coincidences, when does it stop being a coincidence?
It's so crazy. I mean, any dreams of the middle-aged Asian guy winning the lottery, Donnie wants to know.
Not yet, but I'll keep you posted.
Okay, PETA doesn't get the Yoko joke. Steve, can you for PETA?
Nobody gets the Yoko joke.
Did you see the one? Did you say, oh my God.
We all just, every time somebody dies, Meatloaf or one of the Beatles or whoever it is, everybody's like, Yoko is still walking around free,
I think Glenn started that. I think it's possible that Glenn started that one.
Somebody said that if Mark David Chapman had aimed just a little to the left, they'd have his statue out there in Strawberry Fields if he could be taking Yoko out.
Yeah, that's true.
It's fun to hate on Yoko, but she brings it on herself.
She's just a mess. She's a mess.
Showed that clip of her on it's the Mike Douglas show with John Lennon was there, and what's his name?
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry singing Johnny Be Good, and she starts doing this wailing. I don't know, that's the only thing he called into the microphone while she
cut her mic.
The sound guys cut her mic.
Oh, it was delicious. It was delicious. Welcome to Yin Yang Paranormal. Welcome in.
That is
how you doing?
Look at Chuck Berry's face. It's just like, what?
I spent an evening with Chuck Berry in a New Jersey Turnpike exit rest stop one evening when it was a little snow on the ground. All the cars pull over and everybody gets to be the best friends in a couple hours, and you never see them again the rest of your life. One of those stories.
Yeah.
They make the best movies too. I think a lot of things, a lot of good movies have been made like that. But yeah, we were all kind of locked in. I worked there, and he was coming back from Atlantic City with his manager and another guitar player, and they sat there and we had a good old time telling jokes and stories. That man's hands are bigger than half my. I mean, his hands. He could have either been a great basketball player or a fantastic gynecologist catching babies.
Or
Catching babies.
proctologist. I mean,
I say that because my gynecologist had big old hands. That's how he just catch babies from
I
across the room.
always look for the doctor with the smallest hands and the smallest fingers to do those.
We all have different things we're concentrating on there,
No,
Steve.
no doctor, pickle finger for me, please.
Yeah, you don't want your proctologist to have a Super Bowl ring on his finger.
Oh, God, that's so funny. Well, welcome in everybody we missed. Go ahead.
Yin and Yang Paranormal is my buddy Caleb. Give him a shout out.
Hey, Caleb.
Hey, Caleb.
Welcome in. Hello,
Welcome to the
Salvador.
madness.
Laura, our wonderful unicorn, is here. And Edna Maraid, our wonderful mermaid. We've got so much glitter and wonderful people here. We got Patriot 1749. We got Pito. What's up, darling? We've got so many people. Steve, you want to say hi? Shout out to anybody here tonight?
Aunt Edna's here. Laura Elizabeth, Maraid the Mermaid. PETA is here. Be
Creepy.
kind. Good to see you. All these people that I haven't seen for a week.
Hey,
I
Creepy.
haven't been live on my channel either.
Donnie.
There's Sandy. Sandy, check your messenger. Got something important in there that I sent you earlier.
Jackie,
Jarvis is
Nightmare.
here.
Hey, Nightmare, how you doing, love? Check and see if you've got wrenches. Also, I want to tell you this real quick. I'm sorry to do business halfway through the show. We hadn't even really started yet. Hey, Gray, I love you, darling. Be kind. Thanks for all the wonderful comments and everything. And again, thanks for everybody who stuck with us. Rock, how you doing, baby? With not having shows last week because I had Valentine's. Steve had the Monsters and the Shanghai Tunnels, of course. So, the PayPal, the only reason I stuck PayPal up here, you guys are welcome. Never, ever, ever is it required or am I asking you to. I'm just putting it up in their information. Super chats are available. You can do that or you can do the PayPal. And the reason I put the PayPal is YouTube takes, I think, is 40% now. I think that's what it is.
More than that. It
Yeah,
depends on
sometimes
how
more.
much it is. I've had them take over half.
Right. And if you give $1 to somebody, more than likely you want them to have most of that. I'm not trying to deprive YouTube, but I think they're going to be fine.
I think they'll be okay.
I just wanted to put that out there.
A couple weeks ago, LMT24 gave me the best super chat I've ever had. She gave me $99.
Oh, wow.
And I think I got 40 of it. Thank you, YouTube.
Yep. Yep, there you go. And I got a super chat from Diane. I'm sorry I can't pull it up right now. I'll have the name written down for next week. But thank you very much via my PayPal. So I know it works. Everything's good. Thank you, Uncommon Belief. I appreciate that. And again, I promise it always goes to paying the StreamYard or, the Wi-Fi, the internet or something like that. Just so I keep the show on because I love doing this and we do it for free.
I'm always upgrading my equipment or chicken nuggets from Mulder. It's
and none of us are getting rich off the paranormal. I can tell you.
No, it's a labor of love. We absolutely love doing it. I missed it so bad not doing it for 2 weeks, and Eric has prepared wonderful stuff for us tonight. Eric, I've got your slideshow now. What I did, honey, are you ready for that? You want me to pull this up? I just sorry to jump in there with that Earl Flynn story, but I think it's an ongoing ghost story we can all be involved in because, the thing is this, he did a lot of things. If he wants to cross over, he can cross over. He's got to go through what he's got to go through. He's got to go back. That's his business, none of mine. But staying here and creating more catastrophe is not going to do his soul any good. Eventually, there's comeuppance. That's what we've all found out. Right. So let's get it over with. If you're such a big man, let's just go over there and handle business because you didn't do it here. And I can speak on that because that's like my dad, and my dad did it. I'm glad that he finally crossed over and he's working on all dealing with the shenanigans that he put up with, and his energy's getting better, and that's what it's all about. I think we're here to ascend to a higher frequency, help each other learn. And help carry each other through this. And that keeps going when you're dead. It doesn't end then. That's my thoughts, anyway, my opinion. I don't know what you guys think about that, but, seriously, you're going to say you're such a big, you gotta, let's just put it plain. You think your balls are so damn big, deal with the next part. Leave us alone, because I'm just going to keep telling the truth, and that's it. So there. Well said, right? Here you go, sweetie. All right, now this, what I did was I added on to your, I'm going to keep our running slideshow for you in case you
Okay.
ever come on and something else happens at one of these properties and you want to go back.
I do have an update on Carton Plantation because you asked me about
See?
the flooring
I'll
the
be
other
right
day.
back.
Okay, which picture do you want now? Do you want this one or do you want
So you had a picture of the inside of the foyer.
right
All
there?
So this flooring,
Yes, remember this, chat?
yeah, the fancy flooring over here is in many rooms in the house, and it's kind of different in each room.
Okay.
And what it is they take canvas, hand paint it,
No.
and lacquer the shit out of it until it
What?
becomes like linoleum. And this is what rich people put in their house back around Civil War times.
Is that not amazing? I've never heard of such a thing. They
And
take
they
canvas and hand paint it and lacquer it,
Lacquer it.
obviously multiple
Yeah.
coats of that. That is amazing because from here you would think it was, something like linoleum, but this is what
Yeah.
rich people, and they've kept it all these years.
This is a recreation. They still
Okay.
had the patterns. And so they knew what the patterns looked like. So they actually paid people to come in when they restored the house to do the floor. Just like I told y'all last time, they found the same French company that made the wallpaper.
Right,
It's still
right.
in business, and they still had the patterns. So they recreated the wallpaper. Well, the some of the rooms have a carpet in them, which
Okay.
is hand woven. It comes in 3-foot wide strips, and a guy actually spent 3 weeks hand stitching the seams together. So we got big rooms in our houses. You kind of tape them, and there's like an iron that kind of irons the seam together. Well, this carpet, because of the way that it's all stitched, has to be
Right.
hand stitched together in the seams. And so the
Incredible.
flooring was the same way. They had a crew come in that hand painted the flooring, and this is in the foyer here. It's in one of the parlors, and also the dining room has similar flooring. And
That's incredible.
upstairs is all the bare wood flooring. I went there and toured again, which I've been there about 10 times on the tour. And unfortunately, they won't let you take pictures in there because I
Right.
wanted to get some pictures of the bloodstains to show y'all this week, but they wouldn't let me.
Oh, wow.
There's still massive bloodstains, but upstairs it's all, except for one of the bedrooms, it's all wood floors. So, but the
my.
blood soaked through the carpet anyway.
Yeah, Patriots say it's a lot of work. You bet it.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was linoleum too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm looking over here at the slave quarters, and like we were saying
Yeah.
last time, it looks, cozy. I like the wood floor that's there and everything else. I could just
Yeah.
imagine. That's where I would go
So
to
that-
sit and try to get.
So that
you
room
know.
is actually in a 2-story brick building that is about 50 yards from the house,
Okay.
and that's where the house slaves would have stayed,
Mm-hmm.
and the skilled workers. So your weavers,
Mm-hmm.
sewers, the cooks of the house, that type of stuff, and then the nannies of the enslaved people that were the nannies to the children were actually in a room right off the children's bedroom. But the rest of the enslaved people would have stayed in wooden shacks that weren't, didn't stay very heated or anything like that. Just
yeah,
very
far away
crude.
from the
Yeah, yeah, very
from the
crude
main house,
shacks.
yeah.
This was mainly for the house slaves.
It's something else, that's for sure. That I don't know. There's something about that room, Eric. When you walk in there, that's the foyer, right?
Yes.
That we're seeing. When you walk in there, what's your feeling on this room? Have you ever been able to stand there kind of alone and just read the room? Because I'm
Not too
pulling all
much.
kinds of stuff from this picture.
Because when they take you on the tour, you briefly walk through here back and forth between the rooms. You don't really get to stand in there too much. And then when you're standing in a room, they're talking and asking, you're asking questions and that type of stuff. The house is very active, and my sense is you can kind of just feel energy everywhere because they
Right.
put, wounded and dying soldiers kind of in every nook and cranny in the house. So it's just I don't know how to describe it. It just kind of the energy
So
kind of
much energy.
As soon as you step on the front porch, as soon as you step on a property, you can feel it. But especially stepping on the back porch, it just kind of smacks you in the face. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
upstairs where the bloodstains are, where they did all the surgeries, is kind of a more like sorrowful, sad feeling that you kind of get. And I don't know if it's because of the stories that you tell, and you know what the room is, but that's just kind of what you kind of feel in
Right.
your core is. Yeah. But we can go
Yeah.
on to.
There's others here saying they're getting feelings just looking at the room too.
Yes.
So I get, lots of feelings of room on the right, but there's something about that foyer, and I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not a bad feeling, but like I said, if I was going to sit in a room by myself to just sit and try to pick up energy and, to help anybody that was there or try to communicate, it would be the room on the right for sure. I'm drawn there, and it's a comforting draw. You know what I mean? It's nothing bad or anything. Incredible. Okay, so what was the next one? This was the Scott County Jail. Ominous looking building. Then we
talked
got
about Scott County. We talked about the Lotes House, the Wild
and we
Man.
had the Wild Man. And this, did we tell you?
This
Didn't
is
tell
where we
this
ended.
story. This is where we ended. Do you want to tell?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'd love to hear it if you're prepared to, because I have a little story that goes with it myself. So go ahead for you.
So in the Battle of Kings Mountain was actually right over the Tennessee border in the Carolinas, and in 1780, I'm sorry, it was during the Revolutionary War, and this British officer who was in love with a native girl, he got wounded, got brought back to the tribe, and they nursed him to health, and he fell in love with this native girl. Well, the other natives didn't like that because she was the chief's daughter, and so they kind of wanted to be in succession, to become the next chief if they married her. So they took him out on a hunting trip, and they basically they ambushed him and killed him.
Oh, jeez.
And the legend goes that she got to him right as he was dying, and she killed herself right next to him. When the chief found them, he put a what was it, oak? He put a acorn in one of their hands, and put a what was the other tree? Hackberry seed in the other one's hands, and they buried them. And on the grounds of Tennessee Wesleyan College in East Tennessee, these two trees grew. A hackberry and a oak grew in almost a fork, like they were one tree. And that's where the legend comes from. The trees were cut down because they got damaged way back when. You can actually look up a picture from the Tennessee archives of the actual trees. And now where these two statues stand is where the trees used to be. And of course the grounds have kind of changed at Wesleyan College, but it was kind of a Romeo and Juliet forbidden love story. And,
how cool is that?
Yeah. And those two trees, it was rumored, and those two trees were really old. And so they think that the hackberry and the oak tree, they were cut down like in the 40s or 50s, 1940s or 50s. So they were thinking that those two trees could have possibly been old enough to be around
in that time
for this to have actually happened. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And there are trees like that. I mean, you wouldn't think, but I don't know, chat, if you know, in Charlotte, in Charleston, South Carolina, there's what they call the angel tree.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be, so old, it's crazy. And all the witness trees during the Civil War and things like that. So it's not that crazy to be able to think to go back. Now here, I don't know if you've ever heard of Asbury Park, New Jersey, but that's where, you hear about the Stone Pony and Springsteen and the music scene and, so many different things. The Morro Castle sunk there, and you had that whole ship that burned and wound up on the docks, and all the dead were laid out in Paramount Theater. All these things happened at Asbury Park. Houdini's mom died there. So many other little things. So this is one of the stories. There's a small park right downtown, one of those little, it's not very big. I think the whole thing is half a mile square. And right in the center is a big statue of Kennedy, and it's called Kennedy Park. Well, where that park is, there are still trees like you talk about that go way back. And there was, of course, a much larger grove before they started building the town right there off the boardwalk. And then, of course, the ocean, the beach and the ocean. Right. So back in the day when Lenape natives were still here and intermingling with some of the town folk, when the towns were just becoming, it wasn't unusual to see natives intermingled with the townsfolk, and there was a chief, a Lenape chief that was there, and he was coming on in age, and he didn't go with the rest of his group. He stayed behind, and they left him with a wife, and she was like 13, which was common then. apparently. And he was a little mean and kind of overbearing, and the townsfolk didn't really like how she was treated. And every day they would go and walk through that park and go to the beach and go clamming and digging for oysters and things like that, and then come back and sell them to the town. That was their stick. One day he came back alone, and everybody thought he came back with a rickety story that she was on the rocks and fell in and the tide took her, which is highly probable. I've been on the rocks. It's not that hard to have that happen. And but he was acting shady. So apparently they kept digging, found out that he did indeed kill her and bury her on the beach. Some of her remains turned up, and he was hung there in the town. And now when everything is just right and the moon is full and the mist is heavy on the ground, you can see him walking through that grove of trees in the park. And sometimes she's with him and sometimes she isn't. But most times she's seen by herself dodging behind the trees as if she's hiding from something or someone. And that still goes on to today. And that's what this reminded me of when I first saw it. I said, I got to tell Eric that story. So incredible. There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Ghost stories that you just like, there's so many, you just love them, especially when they've got a little history to go along with them. This was Magnolia Manor. And then the Wampus Cat. What's going on with the Wampus Cat?
So I'm sure most people have heard Cattywampus.
Okay.
Cattywampus. That's kind of where the Wampus Cat comes from. It's actually the Wampus Cat is a legend that's found from Idaho to Louisiana. Ooh. And there's actually 6 different schools that have the Wampus Cat as their mascot. That's how prevalent this kind of myth and legend is. Yeah. But yeah, Cattywampus. Still, especially in the South, I'm sure Steve has used the word cattywampus or, some derivation of that. But it just comes from seeing these large cats, black cats, like panther type creatures. And that's where the Wampus Cat comes from, all across, especially Tennessee, East Tennessee. There's still sightings today of.
They are also known as a painter cat. That's their Appalachian way of saying panther. But yeah, there's an abundance of huge black cat sightings. I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, the teachers told us, to be careful outside. There's been a panther sighted in the area. It's black panther. So there's not even supposed to be any in the southern United States, but that doesn't account for all the sightings.
Yeah. And the legend of the Wampus Cat goes back to the Cherokee days and a Cherokee story called Ewa. And it's a woman disguises herself as a cougar to spy on the men of the tribe. And when the men were on a hunt, they're sitting around telling stories. She's actually caught. So the medicine man turns her into half cat, half woman. And so that was the Cherokee legend. And you kind of get the Wampus Cat from that. And then also there was a witch who lived in the mountains in East Tennessee, who supposedly could turn herself into a cat whenever she wanted. Was a shapeshifter, kind of go back to the Skinwalker type stories. But lots of derivations of the legend, and like Steve was saying, there's still sightings of it. And here recently, the TWRA, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, they kept denying that there were mountain lions in Middle Tennessee. You see mountain lions all in East Tennessee, all in the mountains. But they kept denying that there were mountain lions in East Tennessee, and they have for 20 years. And now that they've had people catch them on trail cams, they had to come out and say, oh, well, we do have mountain lions in Middle Tennessee. So
there's a lot of stuff like that they will argue with you about. Yeah. Remember when I was a kid, they told that the only poison snake in Tennessee was copperhead, and then up in the mountains there are rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
But I knew of cottonmouths. We'd seen them. Yeah. We'd killed them before. Had a teacher just argue me blue in the face that they did not exist. I caught one, put it in a mason jar, and brought it to school.
Good for you.
When you talk about causing an outrage, they had to call in the wildlife guys or something to come and get this poison snake out.
Cottonmouth, yeah.
And it would sit there and open its mouth. It was just as white as you can imagine.
And they look completely different than copperheads too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I brought it in, put it on her desk. And I said, here's that cottonmouth snake that doesn't exist. And she jumped up, knocked her chair over. It was a live snake. We had streams. We had 7 natural streams on our property. We lived on about 30 acres out in the wilderness there in East Tennessee. And I used to see them all the time around the branch down there. And my God, I'll show you. Here you go. But yeah, they ended up calling somebody from the county to come out and take it away. And I got in all kinds of trouble, but it was worth it.
My goodness.
Well,
I
and
can imagine.
Black panthers do exist. There are black
Sure.
cats in the world, and they're called melanistic. And it's just too much
I could have
melanin.
caught a Black Panther. I would have brought one of those to school too.
Oh, I want one. I just want one. Did y'all see this here? Blue Cross Road said there was a recent sighting in Wilson County.
Here in
I
Middle
believe
Tennessee.
he's out there not far from you, Eric. If
Yeah.
I
a little bit
recall.
north.
Yeah. And that's very interesting. Oh, water moccasins too. We've got here from PETA. Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
same
yeah,
thing as
you don't want to go
cotton,
jumping in the river or anything like that. Run a nest of snakes, man. Good Lord. Oh God! And just think about it. Just the leeches. I'll never forget that part in Stand By Me, where they're pulling leeches off of each other.
Yeah.
Good God Almighty.
I actually had that happen to me when I was a kid.
Oh.
The swimming hole we went to was full of leeches.
I never got him on it, but I was with a date one time, and we'd gone to this creek. This is up in Kentucky. She wanted to go wading in the water, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't, but go ahead. And she waded out, not up to her knees or so. Came back out of the water, had leeches all over both legs. She screamed bloody murder. I'm like, I told you I wouldn't go wading there. She said, you didn't tell me there were leeches. And,
My goodness.
I had to help pull them off of her.
Leeches and quicksand, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, my
never,
God.
Never did find any quicksand, but by God, that was something you had to watch out for when you were a kid. I remember we were on the lookout for it anytime we were out in the woods. So where I lived with all those water on there,
Yeah.
streams that flowed down into the river, it was swampy. Never did see any quicksand, but yeah, Cisco and I, we grew up watching Daniel Boone and Bonanza and stuff like that. They were always getting in quicksand. Daniel Boone almost died in quicksand. Mingo got in the quicksand.
Mingo!
Israel got in the quicksand, his
Yep.
little boy. So
Yep.
when you were in the
Didn't Tonto have to pull the Lone Ranger out of quicksand once?
yeah,
and he
somebody
come
was
out with
always-
his outfit completely pressed and not a bit on his white hat. Completely
get in there and
pressed.
see people that would get up to their mouths, help me. And
I remember
that-
when I was a kid, I had the Princess Bride, which had quicksand, and then
Oh, my
also the
goodness.
Never-Ending Story. The saddest part of the Never-Ending Story was the horse sinking in the quicksand because he gave up or whatever.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But so,
Yeah.
and I remember my parents telling me, Cisco, you're talking about, nest of snakes. I remember growing up when they would tell you don't jump off of like bluffs and stuff into the water
Right.
because you'll land in a nest of snakes. And everybody had a cousin who knew somebody who died because of it. It was one of those folklore things.
Everybody
but-
did.
Urban legend. I've got that. I did a,
Yeah.
a multi-part series on urban legends we believed as kids for Unicorp's Tales channel. That was one of the ones I heard as gospel truth growing up. My cousin Kenny in Alabama, he knew somebody that it happened to, a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
He was water skiing and skied into a nest of water moccasins and died before they could get him out of the water.
Oh, good God in
Yeah,
heaven.
we believe that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, here where I live in the small town of Fairview, we've got a lake, a local lake, that was always a legend, and I guess that's because the people wanted to keep people out from swimming in it. But yeah, that was a legend that people used to ski and swim until somebody got into some cottonmouths and yeah.
Peter said what about that mud that pulls your shoes off and refuses to give them back?
We had
Remember
plenty
that?
of that. That was the closest thing I ever encountered to quicksand.
To quicksand.
A few
But you
shoes
remember that
way.
sound it would make? The and pull right out of the thing. That's crazy, right? Yeah, I can remember lots of stuff like that. And I remember talking about urban legends. Everybody had one too about. I remember there was a thing down at the lake at Point Mallard in Alabama. I remember hearing about it where somebody jumped in the lake and hit their head on the rocks, and there was always somebody. There was a body that had their head stuck in the rock and died and drowned or broke their neck, and they had to drain the lake to get it out. Remember that?
Yeah.
You'd always hear those kind of legends too.
One we had where the lake was there at one time had been the Clinch River. Tennessee Valley Authority dammed up the river and made Melton Hill Lake. Well, all that was farms and stuff under there. Well, there was stories of barbed wire fencing and stuff still under the water in the farms, and there was always a story about somebody getting caught on the barbed wire and drowning because they couldn't see, what was beneath them in the water. But I think, like you said, that was just cautionary tale to keep kids out of the lake.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I was trying to catch something went by. Donnie was saying, I was trying to catch all the questions. They're going by so fast. I did. Somebody said I did that sound perfectly. Thank you. That was completely by accident. I hope somebody recorded it. We might need it in the future. That mud sucking shoe sound.
Yeah.
That was perfect. I told you the story about the kids I used to play with that came out of the woods. That apparently nobody could see them but me. And I asked my dad about that as an adult, and he said there wasn't nothing over that hill. He said if you continue, it's a bluff that drops straight off into the lake. Now he said years ago when the river was down there, there was an old church and a cemetery down in that direction. So I think those kids that I played with that only I could see apparently, and I didn't know I was the only one that could see them. I think they were, because that was the way they came, was up out of the woods from that direction where there wasn't any houses or anything down there. It dropped off into the lake. So
my goodness. Did y'all ever hear the stories about towns that were flooded out? You know, you hear these stories, and it was like, you know, they probably had warning and all. I can't remember why they would ever do that. Was something just to reclaim the land? What do you think?
In Middle Tennessee, northwestern Middle Tennessee, and into Kentucky, there's a place called Land Between the Lakes. And the Tennessee Valley Authority flooded this huge valley. And it's where the one river that comes in a Kentucky Lake is, I believe the Tennessee River makes Kentucky Lake, and Cumberland River makes Lake Barkley. These lakes are big enough where they flooded this valley that they have their own waves. It's like the ocean. It's crazy.
Wow.
But they flooded towns there. You'll be driving through the trails that line between the lakes, and there'll just be stairs to nowhere. Or there'll be buttercups planted where you could tell there was a flower bed before because there's a house there.
It was like that in East Tennessee there when the water level was real low. You could see the foundations of houses and stuff in the shallow parts there. There was one area near the Solway Bridge where there had been a drive-in theater there, and you could still see some of the poles when the water was low enough.
At Land Between the Lakes, there's a church with a steeple that divers go up and dive on.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's graveyards under there too. I actually saw, I forget what paranormal show it was. I forget what paranormal show it was. They were at Land Between the Lakes a couple of years ago and dove on a supposedly haunted graveyard that's under the water now.
Yeah, that was like that there. There was a lot of graveyards that there wasn't even any talk of relocating them. They just dammed up the river and made the lake there, and it was what it was. You had to get out. My grandparents' dairy farm was left sitting on the barn was left sitting on a quarter of an acre where they dammed up the Clinch River and made Melton Hill Lake there. So it did happen. There's all kinds of stuff under the water there that, you know, a couple generations removed, people totally forgotten about it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Tennessee Valley Authority did Land Between the Lakes, I think, back in the 40s when they were doing all that. And it's all for hydroelectric power is the reason they did it. And all the dams around Tennessee like that, I think they provide like a fifth of the United States power or something crazy like that, the hydroelectric dams around Tennessee in the South.
Yeah, that's what you hear a lot of that in Alabama. Tennessee Valley Authority. That's all you hear. TVA, TVA. It's a big deal out there.
Yang mentioned Dale Hollow Lake. That's another really creepy place. There's a lot of stuff underwater there too.
In Dale Hollow Lake, where I live, is a town below it called Willow Grove. It just seems so sad and creepy to me. I mean, Atlantis doesn't bother me in the thought of that as much as these towns, because I think, like you said, Eric, it's the church that's there and the cemetery that's there.
Right.
And, you know, and I do think, I remember kind of flashes of maybe seeing like an intro to one of those shows where they were going in there and they were doing the, you know, checking out the cemetery stuff. That's just creepy, all the headstones, and, you know, that's just, I don't know, there's something very sad and lonely about it. Kind of like the last part of that movie, The Abyss. I mean, it was just so dark, and it was just something about underwater. I'm not a really big fan of being underwater, so maybe that's what's creeping me out.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine swimming underwater and seeing a spirit, you know, pop up in your face or something because there's a graveyard down there.
Any of that stuff, Cabin by the Lake, all those horror movies where people were, you know, putting people under the water and tying them up till they just floated. Yeah. And you've seen how many different scenes in movies where they're swimming along and all of a sudden they come up on a body. That's terrifying to me. Yeah. But then again, so is like, you know, seaweed.
It touched my leg. It touched my leg.
That's it. I'm done.
Something underwater.
And it happens a lot.
Be a lake monster or ocean
swimming
monster.
In the ocean. You don't know what's
What's
grabbing.
Bad is when you're in the water and you feel something move that's not. I've had that happen before. Something, you know, get up against you, and you can tell it's It's not a stick or seaweed. It's something in the water there. I don't like water where I can't see the bottom.
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
Nope, not me. That's like one of my absolute sharks and all that stuff. It's like when we talk about the food chain, and I'm like, you think you're at the top of the food chain? Go in the ocean. There's go in the woods. There's plenty of stuff. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I almost drowned. I wrote the story in my book where I actually came out of my body. Like a lot of those NDAs you hear. I was at the hospital. I was having an operation. I could see the doctors. I could, and then I was floating above my body and I was kind of watching the whole thing. Well, that was mine, except I was in the ocean. And I could actually see my body bent backwards. So, backwards. And in almost a circle, caught in the undertow, going like this and scraping my face. My chin would scrape as I went around on the sand. And you could see like the dead crabs and the horseshoe. In New Jersey, we have these brown, flat things we call horseshoe crabs. And they are kind of look like a horse foot, but long, spiky tail. And that's what'll get you, that sharp tail, boy. Ooh, man.
You ever seen their feet?
It's awful.
I picked one up one time, and every foot has pinchers on it like a crab.
Yeah.
Every foot. And they have about 20 feet.
It's so creepy. Yeah. And flounder and stuff like that. But I would see the debris going with my body, like pieces of seaweed and, and dead crab shells and clam shells and things just all caught up. And I actually came out of my body, somehow went back in and wound up washed on the shore, way far up, like further than any wave could carry a 13-year-old girl's body. Way far up. And I can remember lifting up my head to see what was going on and looking down and seeing all the blood in the sand with the foam, with the waves just touch. That's how I woke up. And so since then, I don't do ocean. That was it for me. Pools, some, and then even those, I'm just like, I'm not too, we used to put in in-ground pools, and we did one with a black liner, and I always thought that I would like that, but you can't see. You can't see in the water. Everything's black. I wouldn't get in it, Yeah. But we digress. Now, cattywampus, I thought that was very interesting because I used that phrase. It is very Southern, but every once in a while it comes out of my mouth, and now I know where it came from, the Black Panthers, so I love it even more. Cattywampus. Okay. Now, I don't remember if we did Rosemont last time. Did we?
We did not.
Do you want to do Rosemont, or do you want to go to the ones that you gave me? Whatever, you're in charge.
I sent you some pictures of Rosemont.
Okay.
That I took, if you want to put them up.
Sure. Let me get past the hospital. I believe it starts here. And this is also your new podcast, correct? The Small Town Haunts and Legends?
This is going to be starting next month. This is going to be my new YouTube channel.
Okay,
and then
great.
Also in September this year, I'm going to have a book out called Small Town Haunts and Legends of Tennessee.
Outstanding. I stuck it in there just to be sure. Okay, now did you want to go past
House.
These? Let's go past these.
I see somebody in the mirror there.
I do too. Do you want to talk about Thomas House, or do you want me to go to? All right.
We can talk about Thomas House.
Now these, I wasn't sure if they were in any particular order, so you take control here.
I believe they are. If you just go from here. So that is me taking these pictures, and the story at Thomas House is that of this particular picture, and then we'll talk about Thomas House in general. But I've been there twice and investigated, and Thomas House is a bed and breakfast in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee. You can go there. It's $80 to rent a room. You're free to ghost hunt all night. The whole place is haunted. They feed you dinner and breakfast.
Wow.
Great place. But in this picture, the story is that these school kids, not too long before I took these pictures, they had a bunch of school kids there eating lunch one day, and they were kind of touring around the house because it was built back in the 1920s, and kind of learning the history of their town. And one of the kids caught a face in this mirror. So after we heard that, we went up after breakfast, and I took these pictures. So if you pay attention to this chair right here.
Okay.
You'll see this gray anomaly. I don't know why it's gray. But I get closer to the mirror to get a better picture of it, and it's actually the reflection of this chair you see right here, in the bottom corner. But you can go through the pictures, and I don't know what this anomaly is.
There's a little misty something there too in the mirror that kind of looks like a face to your. I guess it'd be your left in the reverse of the picture there.
I think that's just because it's one of those old silvered mirrors.
Yeah. But especially in the picture on the right there, it looks like a lady. Looks like a lady in a dress.
It sure does.
That's funny that you say that, Steve, because you see the fire extinguisher behind me.
Yep.
I don't have this picture on here, but we actually caught a picture of a lady standing behind that fire extinguisher.
Yeah, wow.
That looks just like you just described.
Right. This looks like a
It
lady.
looks kind of like that
she's
bus
got
there. You've got the bus sitting on the
looking right
there.
at her.
And then up in the mirror there, that looks like the same type of lady looking back down at her. I think she's got a little more clothes on, the one in the mirror. Unusual.
But if you go through the picture, Cisco, you'll watch this gray thing in this pink Afghan of this chair. It just grows for some reason.
Okay, now I see it.
I don't know. I've never had my cell phone camera do that, and I take lots of pictures. I've never had grayed out spots.
Okay, now I'm seeing it. I'm looking at the chair in the mirror. I was looking at the red chair to my
look
left.
at the chair in the mirror with the pink Afghan on it.
It looks like in the next shot there, it looks like there's something kind of in the middle to the side of the chair that's not there.
And as you go through them, it keeps getting bigger and graying more and more of the chair out.
It is. And you know what? Her face is just, that definitely looks like a face in the mirror too. And not for nothing, but I can tell you that this dresser with mirror is almost an identical match to my Nana's dresser, to my grandmother's dresser. I mean, right down to the handles. I'm looking at the scroll. That's why I'm distracted. I feel like I'm looking at my grandmother's dresser here. That is an amazing flashback for me. But look at that. Yeah, it is something growing in that chair, like something sitting in it and materializing.
I don't remember how many pictures I sent you, but I have about 10 pictures. That it just keeps growing, and then the last few pictures, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah. And the only thing I did was get closer to the mirror because I'm like, what is that in the chair?
Right.
And and I've never had my cell phone camera gray out like that.
Yep. And you can for sure tell too when you're far away. It's just a small spot, and as you get closer, it's growing, and there's more there. It's not just growing. There's it's collecting more. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe it. That's a trip.
It's weird. And that's in the, 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning.
And this is where? This is at Rosebud?
This is the Thomas House Hotel in Red Bull Springs. The next picture that you put up, that is actually a picture of the Thomas House that I took.
That one there?
This is the front of the Thomas House.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
It was built in, the original Thomas House on this spot was built in the 19 teens, and it burnt down. So then the Cloyd brothers rebuilt it in 1927. And so Red Bull Springs was a town that was built up back when the Sulphur Springs they thought they were healing. And so they had these resorts. Well, Red Bull Springs, Tennessee, this farmer found on his land these, and it's called red boiling because it's a sulfur spring. So when it comes out of the ground at the origin point, it's kind of a reddish orange soil. So it looks like it's burning, but it's not. It comes out, 50 something degrees. It's not really boiling. But people would come to this town, and these little resorts popped up because they thought the healing waters of the spring would heal them of their ailments of polio or whatever the diseases of the day were. And so Thomas House is one of the 3 surviving ones in this town. There's Thomas House, and Thomas House is open for investigations. They actually do ghost hunt weekends just about every weekend throughout the year. You can actually go and pay and stay and do that. And when we've gone through the week when they don't do the ghost hunt weekends and just had the whole place to ourselves. So right in the middle of this porch, there's a story that a woman caught her man. A man caught his woman cheating with another man. When he confronted him, that man shot him, and he fell off the middle of the porch and died on the front steps, right in front of the front door. And his spirit is still seen and heard up on that balcony.
Was that a TB sanatorium at one time, or am I thinking of something else?
It was not. It was always for the healing sulfur waters.
Okay.
But there's so many people that have died in this place during that time because they thought they were going to get cured. They got a room, and I believe there's 48 rooms in this place.
Goodness.
And on the right-hand side of the picture, there's a wing that comes out, and that's where the part of the family that owns it now. It's called Thomas House after that family. They've owned it for 30 years now. I'll get to that picture in a second. That's at Thomas House also. But they've turned it into a 2-story apartment, like a loft type apartment that they live in. And then that's one of the brothers. And then the other brother and their mom, they're all older, live in the bottom part of this left wing. But the rest of it, you can rent rooms and stuff. They have a huge dining room, and they do plays in there on that stage and stuff.
Oh, so cool. But that sounds like so much fun. I would love to be involved with something like this.
Have a place like that.
Yeah. That's what, they're really trying to do. I bring it up a lot. Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. They're really doing it almost, it's almost like a paranormal Lilydale, because so many people with abilities are moving there. They've got the great ghost hunt. They've got all the historic tours, and they're really getting it. They got a bus. They've got another building for ghost hunting equipment, because they already run the Gettysburg Exchange at Gettysburg, if you've ever been there. But bringing that up, I just got information. Laura can back me up on this if she's still in the chat. Hi, Phil. Welcome in.
Phil, hey,
May 14th, Rob Guttrow, a fantastic medium, is going to do an event at the Hoover House, and it's going to be fantastic to be there with Rob, the medium. That's also a small bed and breakfast in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, right next to Gettysburg, about 20 miles outside. And all proceeds are going to go to the no-kill shelter there for animals, and we're adding in some more stuff. So if you guys are interested, book at the bed and breakfast, the Hoover House in Pennsylvania, May 14th weekend. And also there is, if you don't want to do the bed and breakfast, I call it a dead and breakfast, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
There's a hotel right next to it. It's like a Motel 6 or something. It's really nice. So it's right next door anyway. So you can still do that. But I would be there for this event. And you too, Eric, should do something like that with the podcast, and maybe, do live from there.
Yeah.
Get you a room for the weekend, like a Saturday, and do a Saturday, Sunday event for your podcast, and, invite your friends down that can make it and do a thing. I think a lot of people are using that because it is open for investigations. They do the whole thing where it's really good love and light kind of deal, because the spirits there, table tipping, the whole 9 yards, they kind of bring, at the same time you're coming, they're getting your spirits and spirit guides and stuff together to come talk to you when you get there. It's that kind of place. The portal's it's amazing. So you might want to think about doing something like that. I know Tennessee to Pennsylvania is no short jump,
right?
But for a whole weekend, that would be really special. Especially a lot of people could meet up and stuff. And I know everybody's always wanting to do that. Spend a weekend with some of the friends that you become friends with in the chat and other chats, and I'm sure in yours too.
Yeah. I've been wanting to go to Gettysburg anyway. I have not been since I was a kid, and so to go back there, as an adult and an investigator and all that, and experience it.
Yeah, well, if you go, you got to let us know. I mean, absolutely let us know in the chat that you're going. Like, if you can't do that one, the bash is coming. I think that's going to be in August.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, and we're trying to get Steve and Mulder out there and, spend a weekend.
That reminds me. I got an announcement coming up at the end of March.
Okay.
I'm going to be in San Francisco at UFOCon 2022. It's the last weekend of March, I think the 25th, 26th, 27th. I'll be speaking at that, and I'm going to sign some books and things too. So
that's awesome.
The San Francisco area are going to be there toward the end of March. Come and see me. I'll put a link to the convention in the chat here.
That is awesome.
Awesome.
Terrific. And, now it's not too late to, start planning for things like this in the summer and spring, because I'm telling you, being at the Hoover House or whether you're at Gettysburg and, down there, let everybody know. I know, like Laura and Donnie Cho, met up at Gettysburg and different places like that. And we can do things like this and try to get stuff out, on the West Coast too, and down in the South, and maybe, those that can be there we could start getting together and really start sharing a lot of this information that we're finding out, because I think there's a lot of things opening up. I think it's going to be a big year. The veil is extremely thin. I don't know if you're feeling that too. The activity seems to be off the chain, but what I'm seeing is there are a lot of light activity. You know what I mean by that? There's a lot of connections being made, a lot of spirits coming over. I was just having a conversation with Jim from KSPS out of Keystone State Paranormal, who actually part owner of the Hoover House. We were talking about how I know Dan Baldwin is in the Superstition Mountains, out there doing the same thing, and he's finding out the same stuff, that a lot of spirits are coming from the, that have crossed over, coming to help ghosts and living on this side. And there's a lot of activity ramping up, and it's a lot of good, and a lot of deep things are being done. So everybody keep your eye out for that. If you hear clusters like this, I'm calling them light clusters, where everybody's spirit and living are getting together to help each other, and it just goes bombastic and grows exponentially really fast, and the words gets out. It's happening all over, and I think it's wonderful news. Yeah, I really do.
My friend Paula's watching, and I actually, the 2 times I went here, I investigated with my friends from Medics for Paranormal, and she had an interesting experience. And I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. In the ladies' bathroom what's the ladies' bathroom now downstairs was a patron room, and a lady died in there. And this is, I believe it's a historical fact. They know a lady died in there. She came to get healed by the healing springs, the healing waters, and she passed away. And so my friend Paula was there one other time when I wasn't there, but she went to the bathroom to use the ladies' room, and when she came out, she couldn't find anybody in the entire place. She went outside, called her boyfriend, talked to her boyfriend, started freaking out. She thought they went across the street to this haunted church that's there. Nobody was there. She thought they were playing a joke on her. She tried to call our friend Lee, who was supposedly, in the house investigating. Went straight to his voicemail. She texted him and all that. And she thought after 30, 45 minutes, she's like, well, maybe if I go back in the bathroom, I'll get out of like this time slip or whatever I'm in. And so she goes back in the bathroom. By this time, she got to use the bathroom anyway. So she goes back in the bathroom. When she comes out, she finds them, and she gives them the what for, because she's like, were y'all playing a joke on me? And they're like, no. Well, our buddy Lee never got a missed call from her, nor the text message that she sent him during this time. So the only thing we can figure is that she went through some sort of time slip, or they were in a time slip, and that's why she couldn't find him. Because she called and talked to her boyfriend, and she talked to him just fine. So maybe they were in the time slip, and that's why she couldn't find them.
100%, man.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And the guy, it's so odd because the guy I just mentioned, Dan Baldwin in Superstition Mountains, he's a psychic investigator, finds missing people, as well as being a psychic, communicating with the dead, trying to find out what's going on.
Right.
Same thing happened to him. 2 investigators. He goes off, like, if you can imagine, desert, you pull over and it's desert on both sides as far as the eye can see. He goes this way around a dune. They stay at the truck. He's not coming back. One of them leaves to go in his direction, calling, hollering, honking the horn. Well, Dan goes around. He can't see them. They can't see him. And they're walking right past each other, what would have been 2 or 3 feet, until he gets back to the truck and he starts honking the horn. And they come up and go, where you been? They lost, I think he said, like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Close to an hour.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that a lot too. A lot of time slips are happening. There must be some kind of, shift. I mean, I'm no geologist, but you know how like the plates shift, and Earth breathes and everything else. Maybe there's something in time that does that as well. Like time breathes somehow, and things shift because, like I said, the veil is getting thinner. I'm hearing more of that time slips, and I'm hearing more Mandela effect stuff.
Yeah,
and glitches.
I'll share one more story about the Thomas House.
Sure.
There's lots of stories. You can go watch it. You can look up the Thomas House episodes on Ghost Hunters and all those different shows that have been there. Back in the 1970s, they actually had a public pool down by the road down the hill from Thomas House, and it was part of Thomas House, and there's a pool house down there. The pool's closed now, hasn't been open in many, many years. Back in the mid-70s, there was a little boy who drowned. Everybody left the pool to come up to the house here to eat lunch, and either the boy climbed the fence and got in and drowned, or nobody saw him and he drowned while there's nobody out there. Well, the sad thing is his brother was one of the lifeguards. And his brother always blamed himself for the little boy drowning. So now there's a little boy that's been seen and heard down by the pool, and many people have seen and heard him. And we thought we might have caught a couple of EVPs investigating down there, but not for sure. Not those definite ones that you want to say are EVPs of a little boy. But there was some creepy vibes down in that pool house, and that's a verifiable story. The lady that was the lifeguard's girlfriend at the time came in and talked to the owners of the house and verified that story for them about 10 years ago, and told them that the older brother that was a lifeguard, never forgave himself till the day he died. But the little boy is still seen around there, and whether that's residual or intelligent, I don't know. But the little boy is still seen around the pool area. But very interesting place, and you can go there and investigate. Like I said, they do ghost hunt weekends, and a lot of times you can just go there and stay through the week, and they don't mind you investigating and all that good stuff. But a beautiful place too. It's burnt down twice. They rebuilt the wings exactly how they were originally built, so it's pretty much original. They have lots of old furniture in there, so there's no telling what kind of attachments into some of the furniture and stuff. But yeah, beautiful place inside and out. They have a Gone with the Wind room. That is nothing but Gone with the Wind memorabilia. They have a Santa Claus Christmas room that's nothing but Santa Claus stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I can imagine they have plenty of rooms. What did you say they had here? 48, something like that?
I think it's 40-something rooms, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just to think about taking care of it and everything else, that's amazing. I don't know how people pull it off. I would love to do something like that, though, get an old place and restore it. I really would.
It's also crazy sleeping in there because the floors are like the funhouse effect because they're slanted toward the middle because the house is slowly sinking.
Oh,
and they're slanted towards the middle. So when you lay in the bed, you feel like all the blood is rushing to your head because you're laying downhill. Yeah, it's weird.
That is weird. Now, you said this one is also, I love the skulls back here, right? It matches my guys back here. Can you guys see my skull?
Yeah. So this is at Thomas' house in the dining room. And that is my buddy Lee from MedX4 Paranormal. Lee and Paula and another investigator were given a little presentation. The rules of paranormal, the rules to the people that were with us investigating who had never investigated before. So they asked me to take pictures while they're giving their presentation and stuff. I took this picture, and there's no explanation to me why his face is like erased.
Yeah.
I thought you'd like blurred it out.
I thought he was wearing a mask.
No.
What?
Yeah. And there was another anomaly. You know how we saw the gray thing in my camera pictures earlier, my phone pictures earlier. Well, in the corner of this room, twice we've gotten pictures of people's faces grayed out. And one time Paula and Lee and them from X4 Paranormal got a picture of the owner David sitting there, and it looks like somebody else's face in like grayscale has been put over top of his.
And that skull in the middle back there looks like it's got eyeballs.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
But
it certainly does.
If that was motion blur of him moving his face, why is his hat not more blurry?
No, it's so precise. I promise you, I said that is like the biggest face mask
or something. Yeah, that's creepy.
And I thought, what a silly picture because you can't even see the guy's face. I'm like, that's the biggest mask I've ever seen. I had no idea.
Up there, I was wondering, why did he blur the guy's face out? Did he not want to be seen?
And I probably took 25 pictures while he was giving this presentation, and none of the rest of them looked like that, just that one.
Just that one.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
And I did nothing
totally new.
I did nothing to the picture but crop it down to where you can see him better.
Right. And Edna thought it was a mask too.
No, nope.
Isn't that incredible?
All the rest of the pictures, even with motion blur, his nose and eyes and mouth, you can all see.
It's completely gone.
But yeah, it's completely erased.
That is the weirdest thing, man.
So you can take that. There's a picture of him. I put that picture in there because you can see his face normally.
Right.
And all I did with that last picture was crop it where it was closer.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can see it here. Does he have a beard?
No.
He doesn't have a beard.
He's just looking down. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's Paula, who I was talking about next to him that had the time slip.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Yeah.
But that's one of the
incredible.
crazy pictures. And you can take that as, a camera anomaly or paranormal, but we can't explain it.
Yeah. I certainly can't even begin to. I haven't either. And all the things we've seen, right, Steve? There's another one. There's another for the file cabinet.
On the cropped one on the screen there, of course, it could just be a reflection. Whatever. It looks like a hand reaching up down there next to where it says "Have fun."
Oh, I think that's a little ghost animation he had on the slideshow there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a baby toy. I'm like,
that background is for the ghost hunt weekend stuff that they do. With the skulls and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's so much fun because you know what it reminds you of the Paris. What are the catacombs, Steve?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? That's creepy. I'd never walk in there. I'd never go in there. Forget. I don't care if the tour's free.
I've been down there, but I didn't go very far into it because it goes for miles.
Yeah,
there's people that get lost in there and they have to go in and search for them.
So this is the last picture of the Thomas house. If you look right where this bed is, this is a picture I took from down the hall.
Okay.
The pillows, you can see a white pillow kind of peeking out.
Mm-hmm.
There's white pillows all the way across that bed. There's a shadow blocking out part of the bed there if you look.
Mm-hmm. There is.
Yeah, like it was peeking around the door. And I took this picture because I kept feeling like something was looking around the door at me.
Right.
And kept getting that creepy feeling. And yeah, when I took this picture, the pillows are whited out.
Look at that.
Or blacked
Bunny's
out. The
asking-
pillowcases are white.
In the previous picture, are those skulls real?
No, they're all fiberglass.
That would be cool.
As far as I know.
We dug
I
them
tell
up
you,
from the
that's
ground,
about
that's fine.
that's more like about a $3,000 wall, because I've tried to purchase those skulls and there's no way to purchase a skull that looks decent that's cheap. You know, even the styrofoam ones, you know, for Halloween decorations and stuff.
Yeah.
So they put some money into doing that. This is incredible. It does look like something's peeking around the corner at you, almost like it has bangs and the whiter. Where the face would be, like if you're peeking around the corner.
Yeah.
I just find those so creepy. You know, you've seen them all the time. You look up the stairs, somebody peeks around, or you're shooting down a hall and somebody peeks out the door. That's so creepy. And even in these videos, you see where I find them very funny, like the paranormal investigators in other countries. Everybody has different, like some of the Asian paranormal, they'll curse at them, and then, you know, the Middle East they'll pray, and it's just like they're praying really, really fast, but they're staying there, you know, and they're running towards the stuff. I find that amazing. I'd be going the other way because it just creeps you out.
Yeah.
You know.
That hallway right there where I took that picture, it's a really long hallway, and that room's at the very end, but there's probably 5 rooms on each side that shoot off. But that hallway, we got a lot of activity, especially with REM pods and stuff. Sitting in the middle of the hallway, wouldn't have anything, and the REM pod would just go off, and we had to answer some questions. And there's also a little girl spirit that people bring baby dolls in a room on that hall, baby dolls and balls to play with. And the Medics for Paranormal actually have video of a ball rolling across the bed just out of nowhere.
Incredible.
On to Rosemont, one of my favorite places to investigate.
It's so pretty. Oh, how many acres they got here? This looks huge.
So originally, when the house was built, they had 600 acres in Gallatin, Tennessee. The house was built by Josephus Congild, that guy right there. He ended up becoming a state senator, and then he was a judge. And he built the house between 1836 and 1842. Every brick, the walls are 3-foot thick brick, and every brick was made on the property in a kiln
my goodness.
by enslaved people. So the house is very unique in architecture because it's basically 3 separate houses connected together by a portico, which is not seen around here. It's more kind of a
you don't
New Orleans,
see much
Louisiana
Greek
style
revival architecture in Tennessee.
Yeah. And so it's basically 3 different houses just connected with a covered porch. And it was never a farm as far as plantation, cotton, anything like that. It was actually a thoroughbred racehorse farm. Hey, there's a picture of me in there.
Yeah, there you go. I thought it looked good.
It was a thoroughbred racehorse farm, and they actually produced the line that Secretariat, the famous racehorse, came from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they have a picture of that where it's like Secretariat's great-great-great-grandfather or whatever. They have a picture of that horse that was a famous racehorse, but that's how they made their money. So Rosemont was occupied by the Union during the Civil War. And Josephus Congild, the man right there who built the house, he was actually jailed by Andrew Johnson, the president of the Union. And because he ended up becoming, and Johnson stayed in the house. They were friends before the Civil War. And James K. Pollock stayed in the house as well, but him and Andrew Johnson were friends, and Andrew Johnson threw him in jail because he didn't like that Josephus Congild was a Confederate sympathizer. No. So while the house was being occupied, they hid a bunch of their prize horses in the basement.
Oh my goodness.
And they would walk them at night because the Union forces took 40 or 50 of their horses for cavalry. And so some of their prized horses, they had to hide in the basement. They would walk them by moonlight at night. And also there's a famous story about the dining room table that's still in the house. The lady of the house, she was a very staunch Christian lady. And she came into the dining room and wondered where her dining room table was. And the servants told her that the Union soldiers had carried it out to the road and were writing dispatches on it. So she goes out and finds them carving in the table and ink all over it. And she scolds them like a good staunch Southern Christian lady, makes them carry the table back in the house. The table is still in the house to this day. One end of it is pristine. The other end of it, you can still see ink stains and carving marks from the Union soldiers.
Oh, wow. What a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for her.
I have some EVPs that my buddy Lee and Paula, who are talking about from Medics for Paranormal, I investigate with them
Oh,
quite a bit.
absolutely.
We've done quite a few events here that we have put on ourselves and sold tickets for.
Uh-huh.
But I got a couple of EVPs. The first one was actually in the office where they did the horse business of selling in horses, and they had horse auctions and that type of stuff. So just listen toward the end, and you can tell me what you hear.
I know little Willie did. Oh, for sure.
Sounds like a horse whinny at the end there. I'll play it.
Did y'all hear that? That's amazing.
I know little Willie did. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Now Rosemont now sits on about, I think, 5 or 6 acres. Now there are no farms around it. It's neighborhoods and businesses. There's no horses within probably 10, 20 miles of the place. So there's no reason to catch a horse whinny. But it's also interesting because that's what they were known for, was thoroughbred racehorses. And so, so pretty interesting.
That is
there.
very interesting. And I love that, we're not going to know whether it was residual or intelligent,
Right.
And you hope it isn't, because we know that most animals cross over, because I know there's going to be questions on that. But to think that a horse would just want to stay where it can, run and be free and,
He
hang
likes
out.
the neighborhood.
He's back, everybody. But that's pretty cool.
And that's something that you don't hear very often is
Horse
animal
whinny.
EVPs.
Can you play it one more time? And that's probably one
Yeah.
of the clearest sounding EVPs. Steve, doesn't that sound great? He's got great
reminds
equipment.
me of those click clack with the billiard balls that they got from Old
Yes.
Town in San Diego.
Yeah, exactly.
I know little Willie did. Oh, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Now, who's the young person there?
So that was a friend's stepson it was his first paranormal investigation. We did a public event up there, and he brought his son, and
so cool.
And and that was his first paranormal investigation, and he got a lot of activity around here because there's a lot of reports of children spirits, and don't think that it's any of the Guild family children, because most of them grew up to adulthood. So I think that that's a lot of residual, but we got a lot of intelligent activity around him too, with flashlights going off on demand and that type of stuff. But you'll hear a couple of other kids. We had a few kids there, which were the children were great trigger objects at Rosemont because we got so
and
much
you never know
activity
how
around
that's
them.
going to go. The energy is so fresh, and especially when I love it that when they're getting in there young and they're learning respect, they're learning all the different things where it's not just scary. All the
And aren't
time.
there some child spirits there too? Isn't there like a little boy that died that had an epileptic seizure or something that died there? And they see him like in the bedroom at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Yeah. There's reports of, and like I said, it's they don't know if they're residual for the most part, or if there's a few, but most of the Guild family. The interesting thing about Rosemont too, before I play these other 2 EVPs, is that Rosemont was in the family. The last descendant lived there until 2003, I believe it was 2007, when she actually died in a car wreck. She was the last living descendant, and she lived there. And actually, she opened the house in 2003 as a museum, and let people come through her house, even though she was still living there. But she was in her 70s when she passed away in a car wreck. So the Guild family lived there from 1836 until 2007. Which is pretty amazing. And she left it to the city of Gallatin, who runs it now, and they do weddings and all of that good stuff, as well as paranormal investigations. But it's also an event venue. And there was an interesting
embrace that too, because a lot of places don't want to talk about if there's anything paranormal there.
You read my mind, Steve.
They open up like that and say, "Yeah, come check it out."
Isn't it funny how it's flipped in our time?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you would never, oh my God, never in a million years would you ever put that on a brochure or even admit.
Back in the 90s, when I first started going up to the Martha Washington Inn in little town there in Virginia where the Barter Theater is. Not Damascus. Can't think of the name. It's just down the road from Damascus. They wouldn't even talk about it back then. You had to get somebody over to the side and tell me about the ghost.
Right.
And now they embrace it. They offer ghost hunting weekends and stuff. I think it's better to just, nothing else, capitalize it. Let people come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've said it before on the show. Paranormal has kept more history alive because of being able to redo houses and, the history of it. Like I said, we're trying to do, I was just talking about doing it today.
I was trying to think of.
Yeah, you're writing a book about Hoover House. This story needs to be told. Every house has a story. Every piece of land, every town.
Yeah.
Who built it? Who put their life's blood into this? What is this town about? And a lot of towns want to be remembered, and I think it does reach out for people. I know I'm not putting it in the right words, but it's just like there are certain communities that are just that way. And look at when people started gathering at Lilydale. They thought, oh gosh, isn't this crazy? But now it's prestige to be. I spoke at Lilydale. I did conferences there. Can you imagine being around all that good energy? I mean, we can imagine it going to something like the Gettysburg Bash, where you've got so many wonderful paranormal people. You've got people that are cops, been cops 30 years, detectives, firemen, volunteers, EMTs, secretaries, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, everybody there. And it's just so nice to come together, and the most kind, loving community. It really is. And that's why I get a little upset when, a lot of the shows on TV make it like it's something different. And I know the draw, I get it, if it bleeds, it leads and all that, but it's just not all that way. It exists for sure. But I think this whole light thing and the wonderment and the miracle of the whole thing is so much more interesting, because like I said, with this whole Earl Flynn thing, we don't know. I just know Steve very well. I've known him for years. I know when he has a dream, it means something. We don't always understand right out the get-go what it means. So we have to stop and we have to analyze it, don't we, Steve? And then we let it breathe. Yeah. And then we kind of figure, okay, what else do you need to tell me, and let the pieces come through slowly. Because like Cool Breeze, how long did that take? That was a couple months.
Months, yeah.
Because sometimes they can only say so much. This person that came to his dream might have just been portraying Flynn because he knew that it would get my attention.
Right.
You see what I mean? They're tricky like that. It could just be some just regular Joe.
Cisco 26 from Germany. I'm still trying to figure out how he figures into the equation.
I don't know, but that's weird.
What you were talking about last night.
So weird.
Then the next EVPs I got, you'll hear Lee, who I mentioned, and who had his face erased in that one picture we saw.
Okay.
You'll hear him talking. This next one, you'll hear a little girl. He's telling this little girl that's on the investigation with us to say hi to the spirits, trying to get them to say hi back to her.
I have my friend Lily here. She come to see you. She's a very big admirer of you. Can you tell her hello? She come a long way to see you. Say hi.
Hey.
At the very end, you can hear like a mumble.
Okay, go ahead.
I have my friend Lily here. She come to see you. She's a very big admirer of you. Can you tell her hello? She come a long way to see you. Say hi.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a
like a two-syllable word.
Two-syllable word. Yep.
Yeah.
It could be hello. It could be, because keep in mind, guys, they speak on a different frequency. Steve, you brought it up and said it's kind of like a dog whistle kind of thing. Depending on where you are, how you hear it, it's not the same as this normal hearing. And they're speaking. It's almost like they're running through a fan. If you ever did that as a kid and talk like Darth Vader in a fan, that's what it's kind of like sometimes.
And the last one is another voice that we can't really make out, but it's a female voice as well toward the end of the clip.
I'm going to have Jacob sit back in the desk. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You kind of hear like a sentence of a lady, and it kind of sounds like the same voice as the previous one.
It does.
I'm going to have Jacob sit back in the desk. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Don't you just wish that, we've got to start giving more time in between reactions because how many, lots of space because it takes them time too to catch up with what you're saying. And that's amazing. And again, the sound quality is great. I mean, don't hesitate to bring EVPs here because I'm.
Yeah, we try with the recorders. Yeah, we try with the recorders and stuff. I'm actually using a thing called the Rodecaster Pro is what I use for my podcast and stuff. And so it has a sound pad that I can program any sound onto it, and I can do the volume individually from my voice and all that stuff. So it's just a nice piece of equipment, that I use.
Right. I have a mixer. I can't do all that. I can do different channels. It's more for music, but it worked for this, and so I know what you're talking about. But that's great. That's absolutely great because the chat can hear it. And Edna's saying a sing-songy voice. And I mean it's coming through. And Jackie said she heard a woman's voice, and Aunt Edna said she definitely heard that right after the kids said hi. In the end of that. But that horse one is absolutely
that's one of the best, clearest I've ever heard of an animal like that.
Yeah, that was a great catch by my buddy Lee from Medics4 Paranormal. Yeah, it's an awesome catch, and we were all, when he sent it to me, he was so excited when he went through the evidence and found it, and he's like, "You have to hear this." And so he played it for me over the phone, and it was so clear.
It really is. I've never really tried so much to get stuff. When I think about it, I'm around the house. I definitely don't want to investigate my house. If anything happens here, I just handle it, throw the guns, great big stuff at it, and then stop.
That's me. I've had people say, "Why don't you record EVPs?" And I'm like, "I don't want to know what's here. I have to sleep here. I'll go somewhere else and record them. I want to be left alone when I'm at home."
Some of these things, these people have these sleep apps that like record sound activated and stuff like that, and they're finding all this stuff going on while they're sleeping. I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I just don't want to.
those sleep apps are crazy because it'll be like, "You farted at this time."
Yes, yeah. I mean,
I don't need to know that when I'm asleep. I don't care.
It's so funny. It's so funny. But you do hear stuff in the background. And I mean, I heard one the other day, and a friend at work, it's not on hers, but she shows me every day. She goes, "This is us talking in sleep." Like her and her boyfriend are actually having a conversation while they're asleep.
Yeah.
And I looked at her, and she kept coming with me, and she plays them, and they're, and I'm listening, and I looked at her one day, and I said, "Well, how do you know that that's your boyfriend answering you?" And she stopped showing them to me. I mean, how do you know? How do you know? Oh wow! So, do you have more slides here, or are you?
I do. The one that had the picture of me. I don't know how the picture of me got in there, but
I put it because I thought it looked good there, Eric.
All right,
I like that picture.
Pickled Treats and Antiques. This antique store.
Is that what the sign says? Can you say it again?
Yeah. Pickled Treats and Antiques.
I love it.
And it is affectionately known as the Spooky Pickle around Gallatin. This is across the street from Rosemont, and it's also the property in the building is owned by the city of Gallatin, the same as Rosemont, because originally on that site was the daughter of the Guilds. They built her house there, and it got damaged by a tornado and all this other stuff, so they ended up tearing it down. But this antique shop, it's run by Shauna, who's an amazing lady. You can go in there and investigate it as well. And there's a resident ghost named James, and they had a dollhouse in there, and he likes things in certain places in the dollhouse. And so if you move stuff around in the dollhouse, you come back the next day, he'll have it all crazy around there, and he'll put it back to where he wanted it. Yeah,
right.
And
he doesn't like being messed with.
Yeah, and so they've the Medics4 Paranormal. They have investigated there a few times. I've been over there for a couple of our public investigations, but he moves stuff. They get EVPs of him, and he's told multiple investigators that his name is James, and they don't know where he came from or how he's connected to the Guild family or Rosemont, but that was the site. And right behind there's actually still part of the brick kiln that they used to build Rosemont with. Part of the brick kiln is
all
still
those
beside
bricks.
The road tracks.
You said they were all made right there on the property. Yeah. That's incredible.
And that's why it took them from 1836 to 1842 to actually build the house. It took them so long because they made all the bricks on property.
That's incredible. It really is. That was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think it really helps to have the pictures and everything else. And like I said, I'm just going to keep adding them on. Now, when we were talking before the show, I said I had a little EVP. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is because you have a trained ear to listen for this stuff. And some people, right away, and I understand why they do it. They go, it's. You can hear people in the background, but when I explain again how we got this is at around 1 o'clock in the morning in a hotel where everybody has gone upstairs. We're on the first floor, and everybody's gone upstairs or gone off to the bar or wherever. Outside was closing down. It was at the Gettysburg Bash. Now, everybody was telling me that they were feeling a lot of energy. I had about 4 people come up to me and say, Cisco, can you walk down this hall? I'm feeling a lot of energy here. What do you get? Well, the minute I walked down, they have great big huge mirrors. This was actually more the hallway that the servers and caterers would use to go into the conference rooms. It's that part of the hotel. Every big hotel has this part,
Right,
so it's really not a lot of traffic on this. So we're all the way down at the end of the hall, and I'm walking down through the hall, and there's great big mirrors on both sides to where they almost face each other, cattywampus from each other. If you know what I mean. And they kind of almost like if you threw a ball from one mirror to another, it would bounce and ricochet and bounce off the other one like a zigzag all the way down the hall. And I'm thinking, man, this energy is just bouncing, off of these mirrors. Everybody's walking through. So we go down to the very end, and it's my son and I'm using the dowsing rods, and I'm just trying to get, are you somebody who needs help? Are you somebody that's attached to the hotel or this property? We're doing that kind of stuff. I got no. Basically, it was kind of a carefree feeling, like almost young is the feeling the energy I was getting, like a child would be, or a young teenager.
Yeah.
And they weren't in any kind of distress. They were real kind of free and breezy. I wasn't getting that, but they were more curious, like, she's going to talk to us. Let's, that's the kind of feeling I got. And I definitely felt the energy changed twice behind my right shoulder as I'm sitting with dowsing rods at the end of this dark hallway. And then all of a sudden, my son gets the idea, let me take out my phone and try to record. So he records. And I'm at the part where I'm asking, like, do you need help? Are you stuck? We already established that they were together. They were attached to someone who was at the show. They came with one of the guests. And so basically they're following through. So again, remember, guys, that if you're picking up EVPs and you're talking to people, not necessarily, they belong to that property. They could have came with you. So Here's the EVP, and I want you to be able to pick out the distinct. You'll hear me talking, you ask the question, and then I get a direct answer. And I think it's twice. So listen for that. Can you tell us your name? Okay. Thank you. Just speak into the recorder and we'll see if we can get anything back, okay? I would really like to help you. Can you tell me, do you feel stuck here? Yes or no? No. Remember, no is to separate them, and yes. How about that?
Yeah.
Right out the gate. And it was kind of like you could almost see 2 little girls around the age of probably 9, 10, 11, 12. That's what I was hearing. In just one syllable, I was picking up that energy. No. And almost like they looked at each other and she went, no. Like,
right.
Is that what you heard?
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. I heard it twice, yeah.
Incredible. And
that was pretty
the energy.
Close. Yeah, and you could hear the people in the background, but that was pretty close to the microphone.
Yes, exactly. See, I knew that's why if I let you listen to it, you'd pick that up. Because those people weren't even on the hallway. They were down way the end of the hallway, past the conference rooms, take another hallway and go all the way down. And they were going out the door on the other side of the hotel. That's how much the sound carried. But I could tell what you just said, that it was very close to the microphone and 2 distinct different voices with one syllable is amazing to me. His first EVP. I said, stop now.
It's never going to get any better.
Exactly. Stop now, But I just had to share that with you, and that's one of the ones I could play on here because I could get it on a video. But I'll get the rest of my sound to where we can share and stuff. But I think we did great tonight with the slideshow and all the EVPs and everything. Steve has gone off. It looks like it was probably a Molder break. We are almost at the 2-hour mark. I'll tell you what. Why don't you just give us the story that changed something for you, Eric? Like, what I mean is, there's all those different stories and experiences, and I say story because it might have not been something that happened to you. It might have been something that made you think differently. What's the story that did that for you, or made you change your perspective or vantage point, made you rethink a theory?
I have two, and they're two different moments in my life. So the first one, I talked about sneaking in Carton Plantation on the last show, and I think I kind of talked about the ghost horse. Did I tell the ghost horse story? The ghost horse running through me.
I think you did, but you're welcome to tell it again.
Walking across the field away from Carton Plantation, and we hear this horse galloping to my left. Two of my friends are about 10 feet behind me. Walking across the field about knee deep, and hear this horse galloping to my left, and my friends are commenting like, "Do you hear that? It sounds like a horse." And then you can hear it whinny, and then I just feel this cold breeze go through me and right out the right side of me, and still hear the horse galloping and see the grass move to my right. And my friends are like, "Did that just run through you?" And I'm like, yeah, it just went through me. And it was just like a static charge, just like cold static. It wasn't anything crazy, but we heard the sound. And I think because of the Civil War stuff and that type of stuff, it probably was residual. And I just happened to be in that space when it happened. But that was pretty incredible because that was when I was 17 or 18. And so that really got my paranormal juices flowing and kicked in a high gear to have an experience like that.
That's incredible, though.
Yeah,
and as you're speaking it, though, I'm listening to the details of you heard it before, you heard it when you heard it galloping, got your attention, well aware.
Yeah.
And then it went through you, and then you saw the grass move as if it continued through.
Right, out the other side of me.
That doesn't sound residual to me.
Yeah, maybe not, but it was just crazy
know what
that
I'm
ran
saying?
through me. Yeah.
It sounds almost like either a time thing and you're overlapped again and it was really happening in real time and you just didn't see it, or I think it was something that was really here, like almost like a solid, I don't even want to say earthbound spirit because I don't consider animals who stay that way, because they can come and go and they're back and forth. Whatever their consciousness moves, it changes their, where they are with animals. At this point, that's what I believe. So the thing that's attracting me to this story as well is what you felt when it went through you. So can you describe that again to me as best as you can?
Like, from what I remember, because this has been 20 years ago, it was like my body was full of static, like every hair standing on end, and it was like a cool breeze. And this is the middle. I mean, this is like 90 degree weather in the summer. This is not a cold night, and this was like a cool breeze, and just like every hair standing on end.
And it's a static electric. Did it at all feel like that spider webby feeling we talk about?
Not that I remember. I remember more the hair standing on end and the cold breeze feeling. Yeah.
Right. It seems to me that when it's quick like that, and that's why I asked, because I've got a couple other meetings, Rob Gutcher being one of them, and a couple of others that have described having a similar thing happen to them. One was Rob was at, where's the chick that lost her head? Help me, guys. Henry VIII's wife, Anne Boleyn. And she's running. Remember, I don't know if you know the story, but several times she escaped away from the block and ran. Yeah. And they went and got her and brought her back, which is just hideously horrible.
Right.
Any way you imagine the energy of this. So apparently she still continues to run down this hallway where she had gotten away, except this time she doesn't have her head. Like she just kept on, like she was trying to get away. And the minute she could get away, she just continued to run. But this time she's dead and doesn't realize it. That's the thing I think she's stuck in, like a death echo. He said it's not residual because of the way it felt when he felt this, all of a sudden, a female energy coming towards him, didn't see anything. He's standing there and it went through, described it just as you did. Except after the fact, he got this almost like a pulling spider web thing as it went away from him. Like it was pulling all the energy back out of him.
Yeah.
That was incredible. So very similar.
I've had that spider web feeling at places before, on different parts of my body, my arms or my face. And to where you turn on the flashlight looking for a spider web. And it's not even necessarily in a basement or anything. It's because a lot of times it surprised me, and I remember it because it's like, well, there shouldn't be a spider web just hanging down the middle of this hallway and shining a flashlight, but you never found a spider web. But it feels like spider web on your face or in your hair. Yeah,
That's
I've had that
spirit
feeling
contact. That's absolutely spirit contact from what I've been able to pick up from many. Because, you know, if you have a medium that's that in tune, and they'll say, well, the reason you're feeling that is he's doing this to your face. He's doing, they're touching your hair, or they're touching, and they're making that contact. Because in some cases, if you think about it, they're as amazed by you as you would be by them.
Right.
You know, because we don't know what state they're in. Or do they get to see this all the time? Is it just, you know, are we ghosts? That whole thing, are we ghosts to them kind of thing? You know, very interesting. Yeah.
The other thing that happened to me was I was a nurse tech, and I worked in a nursing home when I was 18, 19. And that's how I started off my medical career before I became a medic. But I worked in this nursing home in Dixon, Tennessee that is still operating. So I won't say the name of it, but it's still operating. And I worked in the oldest part of the building that was an Alzheimer's lockdown unit. And one night about 3 o'clock in the morning, there was only me, one other tech, and a nurse on the floor. Well, the nurse and the tech were going to lunch. And the only way I can describe it, it looked like one of those creepy horror movies where there's not many lights on in the hospital or whatever. Because the only light on was at the nurse's station. All the hallways are dark because all the patients are in bed. And this is between 3 and 4 in the morning. And I go up just to kind of go up to the T in the hallway, and I'm fixing to turn right when I look to my left down at the end of the hallway, really long hallway, and there's glass double doors at the end. And I see a man, a really tall young man in a full black suit standing at the end of the hallway. He looks at me, smiles, and turns and goes into the patient room. And so I immediately walk down there. This is between 3 and 4 in the morning. Shouldn't be anybody in the building. And I haven't heard anybody come in because you have to put in a keypad that beeps, and you can hear people come in through other double doors. And so I'm wondering, like, who the hell is in the building? And it wasn't a creepy smile, and it didn't creep me out. He smiled, and he was a younger guy in an all black suit. So I walk down there, and I go in the patient's room, and I turn the light on. It's 4 women patients in the bed, and there's nobody else in the room. So that's not the end of the story. I get off at 7 o'clock that morning. I told the nurse and the other tech, and they're like, yeah, you know, shit happens around here. You see people, you know, whatever.
Wow.
We're in the oldest part of the building that was built in the 1940s, and it had always been a nursing home. So there's no telling how many people had died there.
Right.
And by this time, it had been there for 60 years, that part of the nursing home, and they had built on. But so the next morning, I go home at 7 o'clock and, you know, sleep throughout the day. I come in the next night at 7 o'clock, ready for my shift. 11 o'clock. I work 11 to 7. Come in at 11 o'clock. And day shift tells me that one of the ladies in that room died about an hour after I left work.
Wow.
Oh.
And so I've always called that the angel of death.
Yes.
How else do I describe that?
Oh, and then the smile. Steve, that's like yours. I mean, similar, you know, you've told story. I don't know if it happened to you, but similar stories about the angel of death in the hospitals and going in, you know, and it's that knowing. It's that, again, I find that
I've heard stories like that. One guy was a patient, and he looked up, and there was a guy dressed in all black, and he said, "Oh, have you come for me?" And he just pointed at the guy in the other bed over there and then disappeared. And the guy in the other bed died that night.
Well, and way I took it, the reason he smiled at me was like, oh, he sees me.
Yes.
And I think that's why he smiled, because he's like, he sees me. And there wasn't anything creepy about him. And he was a younger looking guy. He was just really tall in an all black suit. And we had a patient who had severe Alzheimer's. She was bedridden, and she was pretty much nonverbal, except for she would yell about the man in the corner. And every time, and I was told this when I went to work there by people who had worked there for a long time, if she starts yelling about the man in the corner, somebody's going to die in the next 24 hours on this hallway. Like clockwork. Every time she talked about the man in the corner, how she was afraid of him, and she was going hysterics yelling about the man in the corner, and somebody within 24 hours would die. Not in her room, but just on that unit, on that dementia Alzheimer's unit.
It's like that cat, Steve. a cat that would go into the room in the nursing home. It's a famous cat. I wish I could remember the names. Everybody remember that? I think the cat lived to be like 24 years old or something too. But he would
anytime it
always
would hang
go
out in somebody's room, they
hang on the
that was,
bed.
and then
Yeah.
there's a nursing home in North Knoxville that was like that too. They had a dog, like a therapy dog, and they would notice that because it would just come and go in and out of the rooms and stuff. But if they noticed it was spending a particular amount of time in a certain room, they figured somebody from that room didn't have much time left, and that was pretty much a given. Every time the dog would pick somebody or however it was doing it, then that would be the end of them.
Yeah. But those are the two experiences that kind of really had an effect on me. Of course, I was young then too, but really
That's
kind
incredible.
of kicked it in high gear for me for the paranormal.
Well, I would say so. Those are incredible experiences to have. I mean, you have a horse. There's not anybody else I know had a horse run through them. Do you, Steve? We've heard some strange things. But, when I did a little video for, for everybody because we like to have fun here and something that I'm learning to do with animation and stuff. And, I usually put, like when I did Donnie's, I put, stuff that Donnie's interested in with Steve. And it's so funny because with Steve, I had to do a flying coffin. Because he's got this story about the flying coffin. There's so many odd stories, but I think that's why we get together to retell them. You don't get tired of hearing the different things.
That was
and
a
the connections.
harbinger too. Two little girls saw that going down an old railroad bed. Just a pine coffin, nothing around it. It was just a few inches off the ground, but just following that old railroad bed. And then the direction that it went out of sight, there was an old lady that lived up that holler that died the next day or so. But they didn't stick around there picking berries. That's a lot of times things happen.
Picking berries.
When people are picking berries around berry fields and things like that. So they dropped their lard buckets full of berries and ran off. But
picking berries or looking for mushrooms.
Told their mom that. Their mom said somebody's going to die. And then the old lady did. So
I had a weird experience a couple months ago that maybe y'all can help me shed light on and figure out.
Sure. Turn your lights on. Gatekeepers.
I'm somewhat of an empath and always have been. I'm very good with energy, living people's energy, especially. And I was at a Mexican restaurant out here where I live, and we sat down at this two-top, me and my husband, and I kept feeling like my anxiety was just welling up, and I could feel somebody else's energy. I could feel the guy behind me, and it was just like crawling up my back. And so I told my husband, I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom and try to shake this off. Like, get away from this guy for a second and see if that's him or, what's going on.
Do the golden bubble.
So I went to the bathroom and kind of shook it off, and I was fine. And I came back, and my husband's like, do we need to go before we order? Do we need to leave? Or are you just too uncomfortable? Because my anxiety was really making my anxiety weird. And so I kept having this, this guy's energy was just like dirty is the only way I can explain it. And I've never felt this type of energy before. And, so we get up, we eat real quick, and we get up to leave. And it took me a little while to shake it off afterwards, but I felt like he was an older gentleman, and he was sitting there enjoying a beer and looked like with his wife. But I felt not like I needed a shower for me, but like my energy was dirty after that. And it took me a while to shake it off. And so I was just wondering, like, was he going to die soon? You know what I'm saying? And I was kind of feeling that energy from him, or was he just a nasty, nasty person, or did some nasty things in his life? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've never felt
either one or both. I've felt that before, just being around people, and you feel dirty on the inside, and like you want to go take a shower or something. And I think it's an aura that some people give off. They may be just a nasty individual, dirty old man or whatever, or it could be, something more. Come along. I've heard people say the same thing about people. I knew a guy that claimed that when he was around people that were getting ready to die, that they had a certain odor that he could smell, and it smelled like rotting fruit, he said, and that anytime he smelled that around somebody, he figured they were going to die, but it was usually somebody that had a terminal illness or something like that.
I can do that with cancer. I hate it too. I hate it because people walk by the grocery store, and I can feel it coming, and then I get this there's a smell, and I can't explain it, but it comes from my youth being around people that had it, I guess, and it's just one of those things. One of those things I can't do anything with, but I know why. I know exactly what you're talking about having somebody like that. I mean, I've done that with vehicles to the point of there was in Huntsville, Alabama, there was a white van that used to go by a lot. There was actually several because a lot of construction going on, a lot of, white panel vans, but everybody always thinks about the white panel van, so, I wasn't sure whether I was getting a creepy feeling because you just think about the white panel van and it's a creepy, serial killer vehicle,
Right.
A lot like people think when Bundy was going around with Volkswagen. It kind of killed Volkswagens for everybody. So I had to actually think about it. So we were doing this, like passing each other back and forth, and you'd fall back and, not really trying to stay with. Sat at a light, and the whole time I'm sitting at the light, I'm feeling exactly what you're feeling. Just like you sat behind that guy, and it's kind of coming off of it. To the point of I couldn't shake it, like you said.
Yeah.
I went to work. I got the license plate. I went to work, and I knew a couple, police and stuff that I was, talking to, and I said, listen, man, I don't know what this is, and I know you can't tell me, but I'm going to give you this. If you guys can pull this over, just check it out. Well, I didn't hear anything right away. But a couple of years later, I was in another situation where I was talking to one of the guys, and they said, well, we found some stuff. He was definitely up to something by the things we found in the back of the van. And he couldn't tell me what it was, but he says, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, you can feel that. And in those times, the little gifts that were given, even when they're honed and you think you've got some kind of a grip on it, when something happens, you really have to stop and think and not with your emotion,
Right.
but with your almost like your third eye and your sixth sense. And it is hard to separate that emotion. And I believe that that's why we can't do this for ourselves.
Right.
Like if we're trying to get something on a child or something on a parent. And I think that's incredible that I always tell Steve, whoever's got the wheel or the rule book knows what they're doing, because we shouldn't be doing it for ourselves, But I think I figured out why, and everybody in the chat knows what I'm going to say, why you had that feeling sitting behind the guy in a booth. Obviously, he was a Nazi.
A fan of Yoko Ono and Nickelback.
He was but and we laugh, and we laugh, but think about that, that's what I was thinking of, going all the way up to doing the show for last night and studying on the different stuff that we talk about and everything else. The bottom line is this: people survived some horrific things, and those people walking around that did them and no justice coming to them has got to be the most awful thing. And for them to be walking around, that's why I was saying last night, these people didn't accidentally. I can understand during the war there was so many sympathizers and communists, this and that and everything else, but you make a conscious choice to do evil or allow evil to continue, and there are people like that. So I believe that you probably were behind somebody that was maybe one of those what are those B2K killer, that guy that had a family
BTK,
and went around and just randomly picked. That's a special kind of evil, dude.
There's people like that out there and you never know who you cross paths with. That's the
right.
frightening
Well,
thing.
and on a normal basis as an empath, I walk through the grocery store or Walmart, and you feel that like repelling, like two magnets repelling each other. I feel that all the time, but this was just the most. This was the strongest, dirtiest energy I've ever felt. And even coming face to face with what I think is, the angel of death or something like that wasn't nowhere near that bad. And I've never been to a place, even places I've been to investigate, where they say, there's demons or it's evil or whatever. I've never felt that. This was just, it was crazy. And I talked about it for like 3 days and to the point that, like I said, my husband could see that I was visibly shaken by this.
It was profound. It was a profound experience for you. And you probably came, back to back if you're sitting at the booth, But you know what probably saved you? You're gonna laugh. Well, how you probably could sit there, even though you had to fight it to,
Yeah.
you wanted to leave, was because you were eating. Because when you're eating, you're grounding.
Yeah.
So whether you knew it or not, you're grounding at this time, and you were fighting it without really even realizing it.
I
But,
was also drinking lemon water.
oh, there you go.
Yep.
So
That's a good part too. Yeah. Those are amazing, profound experiences, Eric. I'm telling you what, we kept you here the whole 2 hours. It didn't seem like it. Seemed like we blinked and it was over, but my
Right.
gosh, what a comeback for Steve. Steve, tell us what's going on with the channel, what's going on.
Well, took a week off. Didn't have a voice. I had some issues with YouTube.
Okay.
With something I'd played over there. It was in the public domain, and they hit me with a strike, but it wasn't a copyright strike. It said it was what was it? Deceptive practices, spam, or a scam. Beats me.
Which makes no sense. They're trying a lot of new stuff. I'm finding out they're unnotifying a lot of people. So
And
if you
I
guys got
appealed
YouTube
it,
channels,
and they upheld it. And again, public domain movie. I sent them all the stuff where I got it, where it was listed in like 5 different places. Public domain. It's on Internet Archive. It was children shouldn't play with dead things. The only thing I could think of that was scam or deceptive practice, when I introduced the film, I jokingly said it was an Oscar award-winning film from 1972. Children shouldn't play with dead things, and apparently they have no sense of humor if that's what they based it
they're
on.
fact checkers.
Everybody in the chat knew that it didn't win any Academy Award.
Right.
They're factor. I don't think it's that. I think they're trying a lot of new things. They went back on some of my stuff that was like 3 years old and started, pulling stuff here or there, and it happened to be like a little, a little snippet of something, that was in there, or music or something along the line. So they're doing that to a lot. I think they're reshifting a lot of things. But so you're back and in the works now. Are you doing a show tonight or when?
I just finished over a year of going live every single night in a row. I think I ended up doing about 370 nights live.
You did.
Plus all the other stuff. And so I was ready for a break.
Good.
I'll be back. I'm going to do something different. Going to mix it up a little bit. I'm probably not going to do the ghost stories at midnight. Not every night anyway, but I'll do something similar. And I've got some production videos I want to do. I've got some stuff in the works.
Good.
Just been kind of waiting for my voice to get back, and it sounds like it's doing pretty good now. So
Good. Well, I know you have a lot of volunteers that would come on with you to, to help you talk and stuff like that. I know they miss you.
Start having guests and stuff regular. I miss doing that. We used to do the campfire stories on missing persons and mysteries. Got new videos coming out over there. Got really backed up. Then Bill had some issues, and I don't know what happened to my camera. It looked like
That was interesting.
blanked out except for the sign in the background.
Well, if it's Earl and he's over there with you, you can keep him. But you tell him, you can tell him that you've known me for years, and no matter what you've tried or what you've done or what tool or spell or thing you've cast towards me, nobody can shut Cisco up.
No, that's
so
right.
good luck, Earl.
Earl and his wicked ways can't hold a candle here. So.
There you go, sweetie.
Got new stuff coming up on missing persons and mysteries. I think we just passed 167,000 subscribers over there.
Awesome.
Got like 3.2 million views last month. So excited for all the big things going on over there. Got some new series coming up. Got a special on celebrities that went missing that were never found. Found some interesting stuff.
Wow.
And a special called My Dog Saved Me. About people that went missing and their furry friend helped them survive. So.
Wow.
Eric, Donnie is asking, that's amazing. And a dog, I'm sure there's a lot of stories like that where dogs, I've heard where children were found where the dogs curled up with them, kept them alive. I'm telling you, people don't give animals enough credit. Yeah. Donnie's asking you a quick question here, Eric. Can he ask what the guy looked like that you sat behind? I believe that's who he's talking about.
He was a Caucasian gentleman, probably in his 80s. He had like lots of liver spots and that type of stuff. He was wearing he had white hair, not long, but not cut either. And had I guess like Crocodile Dundee hat on.
Oh, wow.
And not a jean jacket, but you know how some people wear the long sleeve blue jean shirts. Yeah, that's what he's wearing. Otherwise, I don't know. I believe he had a mustache, a white mustache.
Well, like I said, the only thing that I can add to that is that usually what I think, and correct me, I know you get this a lot too, Steve, it might be similar, but usually when people are sick, it's almost like a winding down feeling. Sometimes it comes with desperation or just tired, like I'm just done. you getting that kind of energy. You're not getting inherent evil like you were getting, like that
Yeah, I
dirty,
think
nasty.
this felt more evil to me.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a Nazi. Okay, that's fixed. We're fixing all the paranormal questions, answering all the paranormal questions here tonight. So tell us about you, Eric. You've got the new book coming. You've got the new podcast coming, and where can we find you on this podcast?
So you can go over to Small Town Haunts and Legends on YouTube and subscribe there, and the videos will start coming in March. I'm going to try to put one out at least every couple of weeks about a different location. I'm going to start out in Tennessee, and then I'll branch out to other states, and we'll just go across the United States. And as far as the Unseen Paranormal Podcast, you can find it anywhere you can find music or podcasts, or unseenparanormalpodcast.com. I put an episode out every Wednesday. I just hit 79 episodes, and the podcast is going strong. So
good deal. If you've got your YouTube channel set up, even if there's not any content, go ahead and drop a link so we can have a bunch of subscribers waiting on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
great idea.
The intro video that Cisco played last time is up there, and then I've got another little intro video up there. So there is a little bit of content there.
Yeah, drop a link.
I'm subscribed.
I don't know if I subscribed or not.
Absolutely. Pop a link up there, and mods, if you have it too, pop it up there. That's the thing is it it takes us back, and it also podcasts like this and what you're doing, Eric, and what Steve does, it also harkens us back to the time where things like what the building was made out of, the architecture and the land and what happened there, it mattered. And again, history matters, because not only like from last night, we're destined to repeat it if we don't at least accept what's already happened and the truth. So now what you guys are doing is you're keeping the legends and the lore and the myths and the mysteries alive, and you're keeping interest, and a lot of young people are coming up and having these interests, and it's really fantastic. You were talking about the little boy who was with you during the paranormal investigations. I love that, and that's why also I'm trying to help Hoover House a lot too, because I think they're going to have a lot of that. And one of the first times I went on one of those where you can go on the tour and they give you equipment, just to get out on the field where I wanted to be. I had to go that route. I was sitting in the crowd, the people that were waiting to go, and there wasn't many. There was probably under 15. But there was a young boy who was about 11, and I found out his parents were both doctors. So you can imagine he doesn't get to spend a lot of time with them. They're busy. And he's sitting there, and he got the bag, and he's explaining everything, and his parents he's lit up like a Christmas tree. You want to talk about lit up brighter than the EMF meter he was holding, because he was so excited, and he was getting to tell them about it. And not only was it the paranormal stuff, but he was telling about the battle that happened right there. And I was just so refreshed to think of somebody 11 years old was not only interested in the paranormal and understanding this whole wonderful subject, but also the history. And I think that's so important. Both of them almost go hand in hand. And both of you guys are excellent examples of how well they mesh together. And I'm so proud to be friends with both of you. Thanks for coming on tonight. It's been wonderful. Gatekeepers, I love each and every one of you. I'm not going away again, because I missed you guys so much, just that one time, that 1 week. And, we miss you a lot, Steve. So when you come back after the show doing stuff at night, let us know, because we're all going to be there in the chat.
Will. It's not going to be tonight, but it's going to be soon.
Good. And Eric, come back again, honey. I'm sure you can
love to
find some more stories. It's a pleasure. You're going to be a regular here on the show. So thanks, everybody, tonight. Be well. Thank you. Be kind.
Bye,
it was a
everybody.
great show. It's not me. It's everybody here, and it's the chat, because you're who we do it for. Remember, there's my PayPal link if you want to help. You don't need to, but boy, it does help if you got $1 or $2. You want to buy me a cup of coffee or something like that. That's a lie.
Also, one last thing. If you want to see more evidence of like the EVPs and stuff that I had tonight, you can go to medics4paranormal.com, and a lot of the evidence is up there, and people can go check them out, and they're a great team. We're all medics, so
yes, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, and hopefully we can all get together in one of these great places. Steve, again, where are you going to be? You said in California?
UFOCon 2022, San Francisco, on the 25th, 26th, 27th of March. I'd love for everybody that's in that area to come out and see me.
There you go. There you go. And maybe we can get y'all to come out to the bash and we'll all sit and sell books and swap stories. I love y'all. Keep your feet under the covers and keep your closet doors shut, because I'm telling you, there are things that go bump in the night. Love you all. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
y'all. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, Cisco. Thanks,
Good
everybody.
night, babies.
Thanks, Cisco.